All right, there's a few things. All right, that's better there. Okay, all praises be to the Most High. I want to say shalom to everyone here and everyone worldwide. All praises be to the Most High. And there's a few things I wanted to go into, especially in lieu of what's happening on the world spectrum, based on what's happening in events of what we see through media in France. Okay? And it's on so many layers. I'm sure I can't touch on every part of it, being that our lessons is really going to be about deliverance today. But I'm sure that Shapat is going to bring some type of angle with how he get the news tomorrow. So I'm sure we're going to touch on it on a more vast scale in the academy tomorrow. But before we go into the lesson, which is Bible prophecy on how the Most High's people will be delivered, namely the ships of Tarshish at the very end. Before I go into that lesson, I wanted to say something to brothers and sisters worldwide, just a couple of minutes, based on faith. F-A-I-T-H real quick, right? I think, and a matter of fact, I know that one of the errors, and these are things I've dealt with even before the truth and getting the truth, is understanding that when it comes to faith and happiness, we look to get those things from the outside of us. And that's where the disappointment comes in. We have to build our own faith. It's good to have faith to see strength in others, and that helps build your strength too. But all in all, your faith and your election must be sure. It's not predicated on someone else's rise or fall. That's why the Bible says, search out your own soul salvation with fear and trembling. Because with people, the reality is you'll always get disappointed. It doesn't matter. No one can ever fit anyone's criteria of what they believe is holy. Okay? That's an impossibility. And I'm putting that out there. Yes, we can strengthen each other. We can try to uphold each other. And we can make sure we keep someone walking as much as we can on the right path. But all in all, someone else and what they're doing on the outside of you, anyone, should not determine whether or not you will make it. And I wanted to put that out there. We all was called for a duty. We all was called into this race. And ye that endure unto the end, the same shall be saved. So let me just talk about faith. I'm only going to be 5 minutes with it, and I'm going to go right into the class. Because I've seen in this truth so many times, brothers and sisters run strong, especially in the beginning. That's when you're at your sprinting. No one can tell you this is not the truth. But I've seen so many people fall off and their faith be shaken, not based on what the Most High has done against them or for them. because they weren't rooted, a scenario happened somewhere where they lost faith in a person. And through that, they turned back into the world, showing you what? They weren't really following the Most High from the beginning. They was giving a person more adulation than they should have. It was the person upholding their faith. You understand? And to some degree, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with having adulation or a certain type of love for when the Spirit of the Most High is working with a person. But what you can't do and what we can't do is equalize that with understanding that your salvation hinges on whether or not this person who you love or really respect make it or not. I'm going to tell you the truth. You still must continue to go and go forward in the strength, because it wasn't a man that opened your eyes. It was the Most High. He just used the vessels, but he called everyone equally to the race. We all receive the same penny. Okay? We all receive the same penny. So what I'm saying is, brothers and sisters, we're going to go through some rough times with what they're doing in the earth right now. And it's up to each individual to endure and help each other up, encourage each other, and love each other. So that when someone is weak, the strong person can pick them up and say, okay, I'm going to carry you for a minute. Okay? Let's get that real quick. When it talks about bearing the infirmities. And let's get faith real quick, and then I'll go into the lesson. That's Romans 15 real quick. And let's get Hebrews 11 on faith. And the reason I'm putting this out there, especially when it comes to faith, Yeshua, whom the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, because there were no J's during his, J's just came around a few hundred years ago. Yeshua told us that as the days of Noah, then shall the coming of the Son of Man be. So what I would like to do, and all of us need to do this also, is sometimes put yourself in the position of Noah or Noah's family. In this time, in the days of Noah. Keep in mind that society was so downtrodden and so destitute. Who seemed like the crazy one? Noah, building an ark on dry ground. In the middle of dry ground. There was no way possible he would probably be able to get this ark that he built in the middle of dry ground to water. He looked crazy. Imagine that. The whole society is going on regular. Don't forget, the technology and everything we have now is only catching up to what was the technology before the flood. So it's the same scenario, but they were on a higher level of dealing in the heavens and all that. And there was no propaganda back then. It was what it was, and everyone seen what it was. And there was no one telling you it was something different. Now just imagine being in the position of Noah, where the only people that are right, that are looking and believe what the Most High is saying, is who? One family. Noah, his wife, his sons, and their wives. And the millions upon millions of people are against the Most High and are claiming that you're crazy, that you're out of your mind. And see, I like to emphasize that, because usually when you understand what's going on in this world, you are labeled crazy. According to this world, you should be institutionalized. You should be. Why? Because you're not with the mainstream. You have, through the Spirit of the Most High, you have broken the paradigm. You see things for what it is, and therefore you're crazy. You're a conspiracy theorist. Let me read these two scriptures real quick, and I'm going right into it.
Romans chapter 15, verse 1.
Yes.
We then that are strong ought to bear the infirmities of the weak.
Read it again.
We then that are strong ought to bear the infirmities of the weak.
We then that are strong ought to what?
Bear the infirmities of the weak.
And see, and that's what happens. And I want to put it out there. I'm bringing this back and preferencing this on what I said earlier when it comes to levels of faith. Or one may fall weak, or whatever the case is, or feel a certain type of way because someone that they felt was strong became weak. But when that happens, are we supposed to turn from the truth and walk away and say the truth is not what it is, and that this world and what the Bible showed us that's going on? You think the prophecies are going to stop because of certain scenarios and situations? We still believe what the Most High say regardless of people. Right? So when someone is weak, what you do? Exactly. That's an opportunity to say, you know what? I know how great this person is. I know what happens when the Most High is using this person. You know what? I'm going to help restore and get this person back so that we can finish together. Not look at them in a depressing moment and saying, well, listen, you know, it's all done. It's finished. It's over. We pick our brothers and sisters up. Because why? It's going to come a time, and I said it before, when you'll fall weak. And you're going to want someone to pick you up with faith, seeing the righteousness in you and what you've contributed to the work. And that's what's going to happen. Everyone has certain gifts. Some stronger than others. And I'm going to tell you, it's going to come a time where if we restore each other and keep each other to the end, that person that you help restore, that gift may mean life or death at a certain point in this whole movement. And then you're going to be, man, I'm so glad we didn't leave this brother or sister behind. It was something in them that we knew was there the whole time. But if we would have totally destroyed them, took them down, and totally made them feel like they were the devil or hurt them, we would have never seen them come to full fruition. You understand? See, but that's the love of Christ. And I'm going to tell you, because Christ, like I said a couple of weeks ago, he chose us while we were still yet sinners. Mm-hmm. While we were in our worst state, Christ seen something in us. You understand? So it's important that we deal with that and not be disappointed all the time. It's okay to be disappointed, but use that as an opportunity to restore and help someone become stronger than they were before. Right? Because we're going to need it. I see what they're ramping up. And guess what, brothers and sisters? I'm not worried one bit. I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm not worried at all. Everything the Most High has given us in scriptures has prepared us for this time. And I don't care what level of preparation we may do physically. We're going to face something out there when this is all said and done that we couldn't even, we would have never thought about preparing for. And we're going to have the answer. That's what Christ says. When they bring you up, take no thought of what you shall say or what you shall speak. For in that moment, the Most High is going to put that in you. That means there's nothing in this earth or what we've dealt with could prepare us for what we're going to face when it comes to these satanic magistrates. that's against the chosen people of the Most High. That's why I don't worry about things I can't control. Close that real quick. This one here. That's why I don't worry about things I can control. We try to be as happy as we can without letting what's going on in this world consume us. Because if you're that way, then you're no good to no one. Right? Right? Yes, it's the end of the world. No doubt about it. Okay, there's no doubt about it. And I'm not even going to try to pretend like it's not the end of the world. Right? But the Most High has given us an opportunity in this time to build something, knowing what we have, knowing what we are about to face. And I'm going to go into it. Right? Let's go into the faith real quick in Hebrews 11, real quick.
Hebrews chapter 11, verse 1.
Yes.
Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen.
Read that again.
Now faith is the substance of things hoped for.
Faith is the substance of things hoped for.
The evidence of things not seen.
You know what this is? This is the complete contrary of our modern day scientific belief or scientific understanding that if it's not tangible or it can't be proven, it's not so. Just check that out. What we need to make it is the exact reverse of what this world say we must measure as truth. It's the exact opposite. That means the substance is what? Read it again.
Things hoped for.
Things hoped for. That means it's not tangible. It's nothing that you can actually see and put under a microscope. So the majority of this world will say, you're crazy looking and believing in a God that you can't see, that never appeared or showed himself. It's the exact reverse. How do we know it's a God, right? That's what they say. What are they doing with science? They're trying to break your faith because there's only two masters. So if they can have you doubt or even question whether or not there's a God, automatically you turn to the other. Right? So faith is what?
The substance of things hoped for.
Hold up now. Think about in your lives, right? All of us as individuals real quick. Let's think of the things we hoped for. Right? Think about it. Right? You thought about it? The things you've always wanted? And then what you do in life? You work towards that goal, right? At first, is it tangible at first? No. But you see it. You see what it's nothing physical, but you desire it and you work towards that goal. Right? So faith is the same. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, but what?
The evidence of things not seen.
And it's the evidence of things not seen. Now, the things you may hope for in this world, it's all carnal. There's some good things we hope for: a good family, righteous children, right? A loving home, these are things we hope for that are right. But guess what? We don't have them originally when we begin to hope for them, do we? No. But are they real? Yes. Faith is the same way. And I'm talking about building our personal faith. Right? And for us who know the truth, okay, this is not about the atheist satanic system that's going to go to hell and be utterly destroyed. I'm not talking about that. We're not even focusing on them. This world is done. I'm talking about our faith. We have to hope and build our faith for what's next. The same way we had aspirations and things that we wanted to acquire or to fulfill in this world, to get whatever we wanted out of this system, we must have a greater aspiration for the kingdom to come, knowing that this place will soon be done. Right? So with that, going back to what I originally said, why lose that at the very end, regardless of anyone? We have a tangible place that Christ has prepared for us in preparation. Right? And we're going to lose that for what? For who? If we decide not to do it, or say, well, this person, this and this person, that, where do you go? Will the prophecies stop because you decide not to see anymore? Yeah, let's put it downstairs. That's what I want to drop. That's what I want every brother and sister to understand. So we must build our faith so that no matter what happens or who it happens to, we fulfill our hope that Christ has in us, that the Most High has in us, that we fulfill, we finish what the Most High called us for. Right? Finish reading.
Verse 2.
Listen to this.
For by it the elders obtained a good report.
It was through faith the elders obtained a good report. Now I'm going to talk to y'all real quick, and I'm going to show you how faith works, right? Right? We was going through scriptures. I was going through a zone, and the Most High said, come out of her, my people. All through scriptures. Don't even worry about it. Just come out of her. Leave, go. Right? And then Elder Zah, remember the conversation. I go to Elder Zah and say, brother, do you know that we're going to have to leave America? That nothing is going to beam us out of here? I had no idea how we was going to leave. We didn't have nothing to leave with. But I had faith what the scripture said that it was going to happen. And the only thing we had to do was go out on a corner. And guess what? There was a struggle, a fight for us to make it to that corner. You remember that? But then, now I look at it and saying, you know what? If we would have had any doubt or any indecision and not dealt with the faith the Most High gave us, that fear, right? Because even with the attacks that other people have, oh, that's a doctrine, oh, they're crazy. Listen, that's nothing compared to what Noah went through. Right? And then we look at all the churches that have been established throughout the earth. Because we decided to say, come out of her, like the Most High said, and be like he-goats before the flock, and begin to leave the borders of our captivity. To show you the level, it was higher than what we believed. It wasn't about going somewhere and going into some wilderness next to some sticks waiting for Christ. There was more work to do that we had to do face to face throughout the four corners of the earth. But we didn't know all that. It was the faith to take the first step that opened our minds to understand what this was all about. With no fear. That's how the elders obtained a good report in scriptures. The Most High tell them to do it, they do it. Against all odds, no fear, no doubt. You're going to have naysayers. You're going to have people tell you that you're wrong. You're going to have people attack you and all that. But what? You don't have faith in what man will say and what man will do. You have faith in what the Most High told you to do. And you understand that he's going to fulfill every part of it, and it's going to be greater than what you originally believed. It is first breaking that first layer of fear that happened through captivity to make you believe you'll never make it anywhere. They programmed us like that. That you must be dependent. That you must be a slave. Right? And then I look back and I'm sitting here speaking to Gocc and others all throughout the four corners of the earth. Gocc was a brother who didn't believe in the Bible or Christ at all, who just set up another church in London, another one in Leeds. Not just him. He can't do it by himself. And I don't want to, we got the twins. We got a lot of brothers and sisters who are working hard throughout the earth. And unless we made that first step, because we didn't see Gocc, we didn't see none of this. We didn't see none of you. But we had to take that first step. So that's why I shield out the negative and what people are dealing with. Because what I like to do sometimes is go back and say, well, okay, suppose I was one of Noah's sons. Imagine what they were hearing. Your dad is a nut job. Your dad is out of his mind. He's building an ark on dry ground. Everyone else is having fun. Everyone else is going to parties. Everyone is celebrated. And they don't even know it's about to rain. That it's about to be the end of the world. They were marrying, giving in the marriage. And the only people that had common sense are the ones who had faith. Who had faith. So guess what? We're going to have it on both ends. That's going to shake our faith. We're going to have people telling us, oh, look, nothing happened. Everything is still the same. Don't you think they were telling Noah that? Look at you. Girls was walking by with hardly anything on. Yeah, you want to go party? Yeah. Come on, Japheth, let's go. Noah's like, listen, you go give me that hammer. Let's finish this thing. It's going to rain in a few days. People were partying, having a good time. No one wanted to understand or believe. And guess what? Yeshua said it. Our Savior said it. Like in the days of Noah, then shall the coming of the Son of Man be. It's going to rain. Okay? It's going to rain. So we must build our faith. And another thing I want to put out there. You can't compare your faith and what you feel is an obligation to what you see others have or what they're doing. Everyone has a level of faith based on the measure the Most High gave them. Mm-hmm. So you can't say you're not good enough or you're not this or that because this person, I can't compare to these works. Your works may not be required to do what someone else is doing. Maybe the Most High wants you to do little, but it's still, we get the same penny. Mm. So don't think that because you see somebody doing vast work, that your work pale in comparison, therefore you do nothing. It doesn't work that way. You do what the Most High have in you, and brothers and sisters, that is enough. Everyone is not called to do the same thing. So what? Everyone get paid the same thing though. The kingdom. And I hope this is resonating with brothers and sisters, because guess what? A lot of people who claim, and that's why I'm beyond just this Israelite stuff. I know I was Israel for over 2 decades. That didn't wore off. Who cares about that? Mm-hmm. Who cares? Who cares? It's not about Israelite stuff. It's about each individual getting their faith and getting prepared for this kingdom to come. That's what it's about. Yes, I'm glad I'm an Israelite. I'm glad the Most High chose us. I'm glad that we were able to reveal the lies that have been taught to our people. And I love slamming the synagogue of Satan for their evil works in the earth. I love it. But all in all, that's not going to get us into the kingdom of heaven. Our faith and our works will. You understand? Our faith and our works will get us in. And I would like to, sometimes I give out my personal testimony and my perfect examples. Because what else what better example than what you all see dealing with us all the time? You notice that when anybody come to me and talk to me about something, I don't dwell on the negatives of anything. I only deal with what? Solution. That's it. So some people want to just talk for 3-4 hours about something. And next thing you know, me and the person sitting there just depressed as all hell. So this is what you wanted? And they'd be like, oh, he was short. You know why I was short? I'm listening to it and I'm like, okay, here's a solution. Unless you just want unless you just want me to be Dr. Phil and just sit there and hear you just go through what you got to go through. Here's a solution. Let's go. Why? Because this world have programmed us, brothers and sisters, to always look at the negative and let the negative weigh us down. And really, that's an excuse so that you can stay doing nothing and not building your faith. That's an excuse. When you hear people, oh, this is me, woe is me, this and this and this, and you look at them, they just sitting in the corner, just doing nothing. You understand? So it's about solution. You have an issue, boom, solution, let's go. And I'm saying that because we have a short amount of time. We must build our faith, find out what we got to do, and just do it. You with me? We're in the days of Noah. And guess what? To the whole world, you are crazy. Okay? You belong in an insane asylum. If you believe that your children shouldn't be vaccinated, you're crazy. If you believe in the Most High and something greater than us outside of here that have a chosen people in this earth, you are crazy. Hey, now if you believe the earth is round, you're crazy. Okay? There's so many levels of crazy. If you don't depend on this world and learn how to be in this world, but not be of it, and use this world, but not let it consume you, you're crazy. If you don't have a master, you are crazy. Right? And I had a conversation the other day, and I don't like to could go on because this lesson is going to be about an hour here. I was having a conversation the other day, and the conversation was about breaking the paradigm of what we think we should be doing on a daily basis. You notice that when you first break that paradigm, you feel something empty. Why? Because this world consumed us with work. So if you're just sitting back thinking, this world calls you what? Lazy, shiftless, nothing, right? Because you've been conditioned to be a slave. The people that are really running things are not physically working. They're thinking, and they're linking into their God. That's how you run the world. You get laborers to work. People that run things think. So they made us feel like, oh, look at you. And I'm not talking about being lazy in a corner somewhere getting spliffed. This is no excuse for you. Smoking blunts. We ain't talking about that. We're talking about the people who's spiritual. You understand? Who use the time of leisure to connect. So that they will realize how to run things. How they realize how the mechanism and how the Most High did things. You understand? So that now you have your portion and know how to create your own so that you're not dependent on this world. All of the elders had it. All of Israel had that. You understand? We were talking about how when you're free, you have space to think and plan. Or you can just have physical labor, and there's nothing wrong with that, but you will be limited. Your mental capacity is limited. How much can you get done in a day? You'll be surprised how much, through the Spirit of the Most High, I can get done in a day. Just thinking. Same thing with all of you. You understand? And then, it's, okay, all right, I want to put this out there because I'm going to show you how the Most High work things. Right? You're sitting here thinking about the gifts the Most High gave you. You turn that one gift into a business, right? And it begins to grow, right? And then you have all that substance from that time of leisure that does what? Give you more time to think. That's how people are running the world, brothers and sisters. We have to get out of this thing that we must be dependent on this world to have substance. You are a slave. So if the Most High made you free, be free. But you're not going to get this without faith. The fear that has been instilled on us through the Willie Lynch plan will always kick in and make it where you question whether or not something is right that the Most High put in you to do. It's systematic slavery. They made it where they don't have to put shackles on us. We've enslaved ourselves through fear. Faith is the contrary. And you know what? It feels good. And to this world, we're crazy. But I know how it works. Faith is crazy. But it works. Right? Finish reading.
Verse 3. Through faith, we understand that the worlds were framed by the word of the Most High.
Come on.
So that things which are seen were not made of things which do appear.
Read that part again.
Hebrews 11:3.
Come on.
Through faith, we understand that the worlds were framed.
The worlds were framed by what?
By the word of the Most High.
By the word of the Most High. Read.
So that things which are seen.
What we see, I see you all every day. I see that cup over there. The things that are seen, what?
Were not made of things which do appear.
Was not made of things which do appear. So everything in the physical was made from what? The invisible. Mm-hmm. Common sense. Even modern day science teaches you that. That table wouldn't be there unless what? Someone built it, right? Before that, it was what? An empty space. So this world we see came out of what? The invisible. That tells us that I don't need NASA to tell me whether or not there's something out there, or have them interpret what's out there. The Most High and his angels are out there. The things that are seen is evident that they exist. Right? Now, just because they're out there, right? And here's the key thing, and this is where we come in. Now that we know they're out there, and we have faith based on what we see that they're out there, understand that the same scriptures that told us we were Israel is now telling us that there will be an invasion, that they're coming into our realm. If we know they're out there, then we know they visit, they come back and forth, and guess what? We know according to the scriptures, soon they will come to stay. Right? We have that faith to understand that. And there will be a war. We have the faith to understand that. Right? So what side are we on with this? Right? When the invisible world clashes with the principalities and powers that control this one. Mm-hmm. It's coming. Read.
Hebrews 11, verse 4.
Come on.
By faith, Abel offered unto the Most High a more excellent sacrifice than Cain, by which he obtained witness that he was righteous. The Most High testifying of his gifts, and by it he being dead yet speaketh. Verse 5. By faith Enoch was translated that he should not see death.
By faith Enoch was translated. Now we know that he was translated right before what? Right before the mission came to Noah to build the ark. A little time before that. To judge the fallen ones, the principalities that control the governments of this earth. At that time. Right? This was the fallen angels' planet. And guess what? Guess whose planet it is now? The fallen angels. Enoch, what? Was translated because why? The Most High was going to use him to judge the fallen ones who corrupted mankind. Now Christ have pulled his people out and gave them the task to prophesy throughout this earth, to warn the children of the fallen ones, like Enoch warned them before the flood. It's the same thing. What's going on here? Read on.
Verse 5. By faith Enoch was translated that he should not see death.
Come on.
And was not found because the Most High had translated him. For before his translation he had this testimony.
What testimony did he have? To show you Enoch left a testimony. The book of Enoch. Read.
That he pleased the Most High.
That he pleased the Most High. What he did, what the Most High wanted him to do. He wasn't dealing with the course of this world and the government instructions of this world. You understand? He wasn't controlled by the powers and governments of the fallen angels. Cain's seed. Right? Now, on and on and on, I could go on about faith. But let's go into this lesson real quick. Now, we're going into a lesson called the ships of Tarshish, the deliverance of God's people throughout the four corners of the earth. And we all know that these are the things that will happen in which the Most High will need to deliver his people who has been captive throughout the four corners of the earth. That will be the main victims of what we call the New World Order. Right? Now, just a few things. Some people, right now, the whole earth is up in a little frenzy, being moved or hyped up through the quote-unquote Paris terror attack, right? Everyone is being amped up.
Albert Pike served as a brigadier general in the Confederate Army. Following the war, Pike was jailed for treason. He was quickly pardoned by a fellow Freemason, President Andrew Johnson. Among eventually becoming a 33-degree Mason and a top leader of the Ku Klux Klan, Pike was also believed to be a Luciferian. He claimed he was able to summon Lucifer at will as the Grand Master of the Order of the Palladium. Palladism, or traditional Satanism, an ancient Luciferian cult, was then introduced to the inner circle of the Masonic lodges. This influence has flourished into modern-day Freemasonry in the super rites of the upper degrees. Industry, entertainment, the CIA, Congress, and our military leaders are inundated with Freemasonic Palladism, or a Luciferian New World Order. What follows are the chilling predictions, or better yet, instructions of Albert Pike's 3 world wars, funded in great part by the House of Rothschild. From a letter that he wrote to 33-degree Italian Illuminati head and Mafia founder Giuseppe Mazzini, dated August 15th, 1871. The First World War must be brought about in order to permit the Illuminati to overthrow the power of the czars in Russia, and of making that country a fortress of atheistic communism. The divergences caused by the agentures of the Illuminati between the British and Germanic empires will be used to foment this war. At the end of the war, communism will be built and used in order to destroy the other governments, in order to weaken the religions. The Second World War must be fomented by taking advantage of the differences between the fascists and the political Zionists. This war must be brought about so that Nazism is destroyed and that the political Zionism be strong enough to institute a sovereign state of Israel in Palestine. During the Second World War, international communism must become strong enough in order to balance Christendom, which would be then restrained and held in check until the time when we would need it for the final social cataclysm. The Third World War must be fomented by taking advantage of the differences caused by the agentur of the Illuminati between the political Zionists and the leaders of the Islamic world. The war must be conducted in such a way that Islam, the Muslim Arabic world, and political Zionism, the State of Israel, mutually destroy each other. Meanwhile, the other nations, once more divided on this issue, will be constrained to fight to the point of complete physical, moral, spiritual, and economical exhaustion. We shall unleash the nihilists and the atheists, and we shall provoke a formidable social cataclysm which in all its horror will show clearly to the nations the effect of absolute atheism, origin of savagery and of the most bloody turmoil. Then, everywhere, the citizens obliged to defend themselves against the world minority of revolutionaries will exterminate those destroyers of civilization, and the multitude, disillusioned with Christianity, whose deistic spirits will from that moment be without compass or direction, anxious for an ideal, but without knowing where to render its adoration, will receive the true light through the universal manifestation of the pure doctrine of Lucifer, brought finally out in the public view.
Ты помнишь, последний раз мы здесь были по Триумфальной арке, могилы неизвестного солдата. Помнишь, что ты сказал? Что если бы были люди осознали, какого здесь мы оказываем на мир, погрузиться, распространить энергию. Все готовы? Давай, жми на газ. Давай.
It really is unbelievable. What you're watching here is footage from the game Battlefield 3, which was released in 2011. And in the game, the player has to take on a mission in which they need to neutralise a terrorist threat in Paris, France. And guess what date this threat takes place on? Yeah, you got it right. It's the 13th of November. Pre-programming at its finest.
With little to terror police moved into the Bataclan concert hall in Paris. They were forced to move quickly because the terrorists were killing hostages. One witness said the gunmen were silent and calm and just shot people randomly. They would reload and carry on. The attackers in the hall, reportedly 3 of them, then blew themselves up when the police raid began. The survivors hurried out, some with their hands above their head, others with their head in their hands. The paramedics went in. What they found was a massacre. One official described it as carnage. This man's life was saved when a bullet hit his mobile phone.
When he hung up, I was crossing the road and it exploded in front of me. Everything went up in flames. I felt the reverberations and I left. I fell down, then got up. That's when you saw me. You were already in the area. Here's the phone that took the shot, and it's that saved me. Otherwise, my head was in pieces.
Right? You speak to the people at home, and you speak to people throughout the states or whatever the case is. They're like, oh my God, what's going on over in Europe and this, that, and the other. And it's a shame
were detonated outside the stadium.
the level of control the media has over this world. It's a shame. Let me tell you, if this world had half of the faith in the Most High and understanding how grim that's going to be when Christ returns, they'll be more focused on that than what the news is saying. It seems like the people fear the government source news more than the Most High himself. That's what shakes you up in a frenzy, what they report. What about the report out of the scriptures, which has a what you would call an infinite impact on the rest of not only your life on earth, but your soul? Everyone is getting whipped up in a frenzy. The media is the key weapon, the key sorcerous weapon they use to keep control over the people. And I'm looking at this. Paris terrorist attack. ISIS. What are we going to do? Right? On and on and on, the same thing. Same exact thing. They showing some guys in a studio with a green screen. This one guy named Johnny Jihadi now, is behind these infamous attacks and all this mess, right?
Kill all the infidels, take واحد.
President Obama, your policy against the Islamic State has brought us once again to kill an American citizens. Under those circumstances. Under those circumstances.
Cut.
Circumstances. Under those circumstances. I said it good. Yes?
Continuity نالدي. Take 47. Action.
President Obama. والله عليك. جيبها ليلي.
Push. Very good. Smile, touch up.
جيب.
You okay? 5 minutes.
Under those circumcision.
This is why. Less circumstances. This is why.
This is why we see you and your allies, the Ayunis, the only responsibles. I said Ayunis, right? I said Ayunis. Sayunis. This is why we see you. Halla Samir, halla! We see you and your allies, the Sayunis, the only responsible of the killing of the...
Then they have their systematic Satanist crowds that they utilize on every attack with signs so that they can take pictures for this media propaganda. Jesus Charlie, talking about Charlie Hebdo, another false flag where somebody was supposed to have gotten shot in the head and earlier this year with no blood nowhere. Right? Just going through it. Just going through it real quick. I got some pictures. You can't see these, but I'm putting these out there. Okay, what's the name of this guy? The guy they say was over ISIS, Elder Lawyer?
Elliot Shimon.
His name is Elliot Shimon, a Jewish prop they utilize. But his name that they're promoting throughout America is al-Baghdadi. Over ISIS. On and on and on. They're propagandizing, right? Now, we can go on and on and on about the propaganda, right? But we will not. The question is, why is there a new event, the New World Order's government, through media, promoting almost every week? This systematic fear. See, what I learned now is not to focus on, because to the point where they're so over the top with these fake events. It's to the point where they want you to know it's fake. They want you to know that they're doing it. That's a tactic in itself too. They want you to know they're doing it. So what I do is I don't focus on the fake propagandized news to get the people whipped up in a frenzy, because you're not only being whipped up in a frenzy, you're being conditioned to accept what's next. That's the fearful part there. That's the most fearful part of this. Is that they are, through this fear and them making you believe these events actually happened, you are now conditioned to accept a greater threat according to scriptures. And we say it over and over again. When Jerusalem is compassed with armies, flee into the wilderness. You're being prepared with the propaganda to see tanks rolling down city streets. Now they have an excuse to militarize what we call free countries. Okay? Hey, the New World Order won't be just readily accepted. It will be enforced. The New World Order is Satan's world. It's the world before the flood. It's the days of Noah. Don't forget, when the people no longer participated with the system, when they seen what it really was, they began to what? Consume mankind. They began to kill people. At one time, I tell you, during the time of Noah, the people were participating with it because they loved the technology, they loved the freedom, they loved all that came with following Satan's system. But when they can no longer sustain these leaders, the leaders said, okay, you brought me this, that's not enough. You need to start bringing me people now. I'm going to need this amount of people dead out of your family. So eventually, they suck you in, but at the end of this, they require blood. They always have required blood. They'll suck you in with the technology and all that to get you into it. But the cost is more than any of us is really willing to pay. There's a cost for this.
We've been congressionally mandated to verify the exit process, and this is a test to determine in this pedestrian environment, can we do that with this technology?
Digital technology offers the promise of intimacy, amusement, and even a longer life. With the ability to do billions of calculations in our pockets, it seems we've discovered a new dimension in which everything in our lives can be improved and tracked and then turned into money. But is convenience, profit, and surveillance the only use for these new powers?
We're a multimodal biometrics identification company. We've got the world's only patent on a handheld multimodal, which means fingerprint, iris, and facial device on smartphones or on tablets. It's installed in State Department of Corrections, sheriff's offices, and local police in 47 states. It's big.
For me, this is a form of governance by data. You might be a perfectly normal individual whose facial expression, for example, might indicate that you have some dangerous or suspicious thoughts.
Within 5 years or so, we're looking at a future where police forces would be able to identify who you are and where you are in the city and link it to a social networking page and to all of your friends.
Right? So what I tend to look at, not the propaganda in the news, because these people in the studio, these are actors getting excited and getting you all hyperventilated and all that. And when they say cut, these people go and they drink their little shots or whatever, they toast. It's all acting. What I tend to focus on is the laws that will be passed after the false flag. Okay, because the false flag will go away. It's just like any other story. They'll put a new story up. You'll forget about the last story. Right? But what you need to look at, from one propaganda to the next, the laws that are in place against the citizenship, against your well-being. These laws are in place against you. Whether they did a false flag or not, the laws are in place to do what? Enslave humanity. What does this mean for you? This means that when you go shopping or go to a mall or any place, you're going to see machine guns. That's what this means. They're acclimating what we've been saying for years they were going to bring forth, but they can't do it without events. They must have an event to bring forth the one world order, so that we are conditioned to see military on a regular basis. And like I said a few weeks ago, what happens now that they have deployed that military? What happens now when the commander-in-chief now give orders for that military you're used to seeing, protecting your malls, giving them the same military the orders to turn on you? They're already in place. What we're seeing right now is military deployment. Nothing more, nothing less. It has nothing to do with some bombs in some stadium someplace. I've looked at this every which way you can see it till I've been blue in the face and sick of hearing it. And guess what? I'm going to tell you right now. There was no explosion in no soccer game. None of that. But it doesn't matter what it was. The residual effects will affect everyone. They don't care if you know it's fake. They usually do these things 1 or 2 weeks or a few days before a big vote or a law that they're looking to pass that will have a profound impact on the civilian population. Period. They do it so that now they want, yeah, let's vote yes, let's vote yes, yes. Come on, man. I don't even deal with Facebook and know that as soon as the attacks happened, everyone had an option to put France flag as almost an avatar on your Facebook. How long do you think it takes them to come up with that? In 5 minutes? These things, they planned years out. They already had the apps and all that ready. So it's not about the false flag. What will happen now? Because this really is the 911 of the world now. You're going to have every country that's in compliance with the New World Order pass laws based upon what they claim happened in France. We know nothing happened, but it doesn't matter. Something did happen. They told you something happened. That's all they have to do. Right? So, eventually they're going to bring forth a new world order. Okay, I'm going to try to quantify this. I'm going to go into a little bit in the academy tomorrow. But they're going to militarize the earth, and they're going to claim that it's the internet. That these particular, what you would call terrorists, are utilizing for free access of communication that makes what they would call the New World Order society fragile. So they're going to claim that they're going to need more stringent clamps on the internet. Even though we know this guy right here, his name is what? Elliot
Shimon.
A Jewish guy.
Yeah.
Even though we know ISIS really don't exist. They put up these Jewish props who dress up with beards and claim they're ISIS. In studio. Right? So this is what they're going to do. They're getting the military in place. They got everyone with a phone in their hand now. Getting you acclimated now. And this is what I've been examining too. Every place I go, I'm checking out the people, and everyone's like this. And it's a deep zone. And I'm looking at it. And I'm saying, you know what? Everyone is like this. Everyone. If you drive and look at people in their cars, everyone is like this. Everyone is attached to the beast. Inadvertently. Don't even realize it. Even though it's a convenient necessity, I'm going to tell you the truth. It is convenient to have. It's a computer. Why do you think they're freely giving us this technology? Can you imagine what that phone would have been worth 25 years ago with the technology in it? You can't even put a price on it. What about 30 years ago if someone would have came up with that? You know how much money that one little unit would have cost? You know how much it costs to put one of these in everyone's hands? Everybody, even the poor people in Africa, all have what? An Android phone. They've acclimated everyone into the beast so that everyone can now be conditioned at the same time to accept their own demise. What's next? Now they're going to what? The same way they moved our bank accounts from getting a paper check to direct deposit. Now they're acclimating what? Your bank account with what? Your Android. Because they're going to claim ISIS. One of the biggest threats is the fact that ISIS is using the dollar bill. They're using money. So they can't be tracked. See? They're using finances. They're using cash. They're using the internet. And they're freely transferring cash without us being able to see what they're doing. And through that, laws are going to be passed now where what? It's not the mark of the beast. It's what? It's you taking your Android phone and instead of putting it in the hands of someone who you don't know at a clerk office somewhere, what are they going to do? They're going to say, just take your phone, pop it up. All the retail stores are getting it. All the stores are being acclimated into the beast. Now you take your Android phone, pop it up, put it up there. Your credit card is there. Boom, bang. Your signature's there. You don't have to sign anything. Take your groceries and leave. Take whatever you got and leave. It's called Visa checkout. Right? That's one phase now. That's the next phase. Right? And then, of course, the next phase of that is, you know how it is. Through thuggery and bullying, people's phones get stolen, they get missing, they lose their phones in cabs, you name it. Boom. Somebody get your password, they got everything, they got your finances. They got, your way of living, right? Because, believe it or not, your way of living have been all systematically integrated into your phone. Right? They have your way of living. Right? So what's the next step? The next step is to say, well, we can conveniently solve that problem with an administered RFID chip.
And he provides that no one will be able to buy or to sell except the one that has the mark, either the name of the beast or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him who has understanding calculate the number of the beast, for the number is that of a man, and his number is 666.
So how close are we to our special coverage here tonight, Life in the U.S. in 10 years' time?
The year is 2017. You're rushed to a hospital unconscious with no ID or medical history, but Thanks to a microchip under your skin, it's all there. Science fiction 20 years ago, but a biometric reality today.
In medical news tonight, a chip the size of a grain of rice could save your life.
I've just been chipped myself. It's not a painless process, but it doesn't last too long, not too difficult. Minor surgical procedure.
New microchip technology now makes it possible for the emergency room staff to find out about your medical history at the touch of a computer key.
At some point, we're all going to have RFIDs. It might be even in our fingers, where they require it with everything on it.
Instead of carrying credit cards or money, we will probably be implanted with chips.
And now RFID microchips like this are being injected into humans.
I'm sorry, sir, did you just say you would get one implanted in your arm?
Absolutely, without a doubt.
Our driver's license will be on the RFID chip. Our credit card number, all our information will be on this one chip.
The chip is encased in unbreakable glass and is about the size of a grain of rice. The procedure is done with anesthesia and is relatively pain-free.
It felt pretty scary, but at the same time it felt very modern, very 2015.
The government has just approved the use of a computer chip that would be implanted under your skin.
When complete, everyone will have a unique 12-digit identity number.
If hospitals purchase this detection equipment, the system will most likely start to include more and more people in those communities who will want the chips.
Wow.
Interesting stuff.
Everybody could have one of those one day.
Does Google now know everything I do and everywhere I go? Because, let's face it, we like you guys, but you're from Google.
It may be true that 10 to 20-year-olds don't want to wear a watch on their wrist, but you can be sure that they'll be far more interested in wearing an electronic tattoo, if only to piss off their parents.
Forget mobile phones. Your children and grandchildren may well want an implant instead.
You know, when we check out at the grocery store, we'll be swiping our own arm over the scanner. And that will be something we feel we can't live without.
It would be such a disadvantage to not have the implant that it essentially becomes not optional.
Let's imagine a little bit what the future might look like if I could take your stem cells and put them on a chip, or your stem cells and put them on a chip. It would be a personalized chip just for you.
It turns over, but it doesn't start. But the RFID reader antenna is here. So when I authenticate, the bike powers up. That's it.
Imagine if some of these machines could be made so thin, light, and portable that they could be attached right to the surface of your skin and go wherever you go.
There's some very sophisticated device functionality sitting on my skin.
Welcome to the future, specifically the checkpoint of the future.
It is envisaged that the passenger will be able to flow through the security checkpoint without interruption.
This is what IATA, which is the airline industry trade body, is hoping will become commonplace around the world. A sort of one-stop shop for security from the curb to the gate, as they say, with dignity.
Can a microscopic tag be implanted in a person's body to track his every movement? There's actual discussion about that. You will rule on that, mark my words, before your tenure is over.
Mark my words, huh? More like the mark of the beast.
Even though it is called a tattoo, there is no need to pierce or puncture the skin. Instead, the device sticks on.
So what we can do then is we can take this device, laminate it on the skin.
It occurs to me I've got them in my dogs. Why wouldn't I have them in small children too?
There are also several products available to keep track of children. Many of them act as emergency cell phones and tracking devices, with some even able to display on a map the places your child has visited.
Biometric tattoos are raising the bar in wearable technology, and here to fill us in on the who, what, where, when, and why is our very own Lionel of Lionel Media. Hello, sir. Can you tell us what direction is this going with the biometrics and the tattoos? These things aren't easy to take off. What's your opinion on them?
Eventually what's happening is that we are being led bit by bit through, to use the Skinnerian term, from shaping through the successive approximation to ultimately having within our bodies an RFID chip that will be implanted, that people will stand in line and in queues for to have, so that ultimately we will have in our bodies Because what we're doing right now, Lindsay, is we're slowly moving towards that. We went from the desktop to the laptop to the phone to the watch, and now we're having little tattoos, little biometrics, all of them leading to the ultimate goal, and that is an RFID, a radio frequency identification or similar chip to be placed subcutaneously. And that chip, Lindsay, will have everything about you there is. Your bank account, your GPS location, and you will do it. You will get one. Because after all, it will also have the siren call of medical information. And then one day, God forbid, not you, one day when people are found guilty of, let's say, crimes, they're not going to be put into the Hoosgow, the pokey. No. Their chip is going to be turned off and poof, they don't exist anymore. That's where all of this is going. Everything that's happening right now, think about this, it's not going to be because of the government forcing this on you. People will say, please, put this on, put this tat on, this UPC. I want to be a part of it.
Now, how do we know this have everything to do with ISIS and what's going on in Paris? Well, they just passed a law now within the United States, who had nothing to do with France, to now force all migrants and those that are in poor countries to make sure that they have an RFID tracked passport if they're looking to live outside of the place, Syria, which is being bombed and utterly destroyed. They says ISIS wasn't tracked. It come to find out, conveniently, I got this here. They had passports without the RFID chip in them. And this is what they're showing on the media. That this guy blew himself up. There was no parts of him left. But another magic passport appeared out of this, so that now they can now tag the culprits of the Paris attack to Syria or ISIS. Like I said last week, you had some magic passports that fell out of the building. Even though everything was disintegrated during 9/11, these magic passports just fell on the steps of the FBI. And I told them last week, I want a complete suit and house made out of these passport papers. These things make it, listen, they talk about a black box on a plane. No, wrap me up in some passport paper and you can fly this plane anywhere you want, baby. I'm getting through. But now, through this, they're doing what now? They're acclimating everything to the RFID. And I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to come a time where people will not have physical paper passports. They will acclimate that with your Android, and eventually it will be your RFID chip. You will not be able to buy or sell unless you have one. You see, and that's why I wanted to talk about faith earlier. Because what happens, because right now it's convenient utilizing some of the technology. I mean, in fact, some of this technology, being able to stream to thousands upon thousands of people and talk to them all at once, is a blessing to us to wake up our people. But all in all, I know where this is going. Right? You got the RFID coming, right? The mark of the beast, the Bible calls it. That's where we're going. But I talked about faith earlier, knowing that what, brothers and sisters? I know beyond any shadow of a doubt, when all this break out, those that believe will be okay, not dependent on the technology. Great. We're gonna be fine. I'm going to go into a few things. Let's get it out of Esdras real quick, when it says they shall toss you out of your houses. 2nd Esdras 16, out of the Apocrypha.
2 Ezra chapter 16, verse 68.
Read it.
For behold, the burning wrath of a great multitude is kindled over you.
When it says a burning wrath of a great multitude is kindled over you, it's speaking of the majority of the people now that are coming against the elect or people who believe in the Most High. We have an unbelieving earth, and all of them are against the Bible. All of them are against those who believe in something greater than ourselves, the Most High God. That's that burning multitude that's going to be over us. They're going to condition military to be against those who believe in the Most High. Look how they conditioned you. They conditioned you to what? To attack a people not based on them being radicals. They have what? Connected a religious belief to the ideology that's attacking the New World Order. See? The Islamic State. They can just switch that to any religion they want or anyone that believes in a God and claim that that's the threat. Right now, Christians are not up in arms against this campaign, this fake campaign. Why? Because they're only pointing out Muslims right now. But they're going to shift to Christians. Anyone that believes in the Most High can get a radical thought outside of the New World Order. Therefore, you are a threat and may blow something up because you're not being controlled. Your God may tell you to do what this Baghdadi did. It's really an attack against those who believe in the Most High. We know ISIS don't exist. We know these religious groups don't, but they're fashioning the narrative so that people can point to those who believe in God as radical or crazy. That's what they do in a satanic system. They point out those who believe in the Most High. There's nothing, they can just shift that from Islam to who? Oh, Israelites. They can shift that from that to whatever. They can move the narrative wherever they want, brothers and sisters. This is what I'm telling you. The Islamic State don't exist. But in some boardroom of some government institution someplace. But all in all, they're going to use it as a platform to attack those who believe. So what happens when we are dealt with a choice to either take the mark of the beast or take our chances with our God? We will come to that point. We will come to that decision. All of us. Read.
For behold, the burning wrath of a great multitude is kindled over you, and they shall take away certain of you, and feed you being idle with things offered unto idols.
Because usually what they do first is to try to get you to compromise your God by feeding you things that they've actually prayed to and sacrificed to their gods. Okay? That's a religious attack. That's a spiritual attack. The example I can give you, no sooner as they enslaved us and took us off our shores, they did what? They began to serve us pork and sell us pork and give us pork, swine, something against the Bible. See? So that's the first thing they do. And I'm saying this, brothers and sisters, because when they start coming against us and moving us and finding out what we believe, part of their tactic of breaking you is to give you the reverse of your belief system. In every way. How you think, how you eat, all that, to break you. See? Read.
Verse 69. And they that consent unto them shall be had in derision.
And they that consent to them, that means you begin to agree with the New World Order system. You will be had in derision. They will tear you apart. Read.
And in reproach and trodden underfoot.
Come on.
79.
It says 70. Trodden underfoot. When you precept that trodden underfoot, that goes back to how the Roman Empire armies destroyed Israel underfoot. So really, this quote-unquote attack in Paris have really nothing to do with Paris. It have everything to do with putting the military down that will have you in derision. Eventually, they will enforce the New World Order's plan against the children of the Most High God, against those who believe. Read.
Verse 70. For there shall be in every place.
In every place. That means it doesn't matter where we go. We know it's going to be utterly destroyed, but guess what? They're going to assume this every place. This is how the Israelites, God's people, will eventually get into the wilderness. They're not going to be able to actually operate any other place. There will be no place that can sustain God's people, because why? The whole grid will be electronically controlled. It's not going to be a place that you can go where facial recognition will not recognize you. So you understand? So eventually, that's why Christ says, when you are persecuted in one city, do what? Flee into the next. Eventually, these circumstances are going to lead us to where the Most High will protect us in the wilderness. It's going to be the new world order against those who can see. But first, they must set up a grid to know who's with them, so that they can now concentrate on the number of the elect that's left that they must destroy before the coming of Christ. So these computers are not just used so that we can be on the phone and the internet or whatever the case is. The computers are being moved on the other side as what? As a statistic grid. A metric to know whether or not there's God's people that they haven't put a grip on yet. Whom they haven't destroyed yet. Who are not in jail. Who are not controlled. It's going to be a metric that will be utilized. Read.
Verse.
And how do we know this? That's what the Obamacare plan was about. It wasn't about you getting insurance. Now they can have a metric on how many people that are not within the United States. It's a census to count who's really operating under the grid. And if you don't got the insurance, they know that you're operating outside of the grid. It's a metric to know how, and through the metric, then they can campaign and plan going forward on what they can do to focus on those that fell through the cracks. That's what your G20s and all these other events are about. They look at the metrics and say, well, listen, these many people haven't signed up for Obamacare. Now, those that are in Obamacare, automatically, they're going to get the mark of the beast. A two-way radio is part of it. See? They just haven't told you. But if you sign up for it, you've already been acclimated to receive it. So it's not what you think. It's some businessmen sitting in all white with metrics looking, or black suits or white ties and black ties and red ties sitting there around the table saying, well, okay, who's our threat? Those that follow the Most High God. Here's a number of them that haven't signed up or whatever the case is. They're not a part of our system. Okay, how do we get them? Okay, we must mark them as terrorists. We're going to say they're ISIS. We're going to say they're this. We're going to say they're that. We must get rid of them. Not because they are a physical threat. They can spiritually release the people. And if they spiritually release the people, these people will spiritually fight against us. And when these people spiritually fight against us, their angels come into our presence and war against us. It's a spiritual war. That's the power we have. They understand it, and they know we understand it. Are you following me here? Read.
2 Ezra 16, verse 70.
Come on.
For there shall be in every place and in the next cities a great insurrection upon those that fear the Most High.
So this whole campaign is aimed towards those who really fear or know that the Most High God exists, who believe in him and have faith in him. It's speaking to the believers. Read. Now Christians, a lot of Christians know this to some degree, but they've been duped with the Jesuit programming and agenda of the rapture that the Jesuits created. They're dealing with a doctrine that you cannot have the mark of the beast until the Antichrist is revealed. So through that conditioning, Christians will take the mark of the beast. So a lot of what we're saying Christians know, but their timeline is off. And they're not going to have enough time to prepare. See? So because of that, they're going to automatically choose what? It's going to show you. They're going to have to choose right on the spot. They're going to have time to prepare and go out and set things up and have preparation for the people. There will be no time for them at all. They're going to have a decision right on the spot with a gun at their door. What do you choose? And they're going to start off with their Pied Pipers, Creflo Dollar, whoever their Pied Piper is, who's going to tell them to get it and saying, listen, if you don't do what the government tell you to do, you're not of God and you got to get out of this church. That's how the Pied Pipers are going to do it. You got to leave here. You got to threaten our church. This is how they're going to do it. Right? And Christians and people who believe in Christ. I'm not speaking of Muslims. We all know that the Islamic faith and all that satanic religion, those that believe in our line, that rock is going to hell. We're not here to defend the Islamic State. But I'm going to tell you how this is going to affect those who believe in Christ. Read.
Verse 71. They shall be like madmen, sparing none.
See that?
But still spoiling and destroying those that fear the Most High.
So their whole campaign is against what? Those that are keeping the commandments of God. See? So that's how they measure whether or not you are a threat. What do you eat? Oh, you don't eat pork? Okay, you must be religious. See? Oh, you don't celebrate Christmas? Okay, we can put him on the list. Okay, he's not conditioned. She's not conditioned. Oh, you don't deal with Sunday worship? See, all these things they can peg off and now get a metric on those who are now connected. Because if you're not being controlled by the world religions, you're connected. They realize this. So they put these little caveats, these little, what I would call spiritual ball and chains on us, so that they can know whether or not you're with them or with the Most High. And these are the people they're going to target their destruction towards. Read.
72. For they shall waste and take away their goods and cast them out of their houses.
See that? All that good stuff. All those resources. All your goods are going to be taken. And what?
73.
And why will they cast you out of your house? How are you going to pay for it without the mark of the beast? How? Now, back in the day, they used to have sheriffs knock on your door and say, you know what, you got to get out. You know, we're going to give you some time. At least the sheriffs had some level of sympathy, being connected with the people. The sheriffs in towns, they have some level of compassion for the people. They give you some time to get out and all these things. But now, through the integration of city, state, and all levels, the local, state, and city all being integrated, you can have the military on your door. It's not going to be your sheriffs. Read.
73. Then shall they be known who are my chosen.
It says they're going to kick you out of your house. They're going to take everything you have. Then what?
Then shall they be known who are my chosen.
Then we're going to know who's really down with the Most High. Who's going to stick with the Most High with nothing? Of course, they're going to give you an option, though, a great option. Do you want to keep the house? Do you want to keep all your goods? It's simple. We have it right here in the syringe. We just have to know, we have to be sure that you're not a threat to us. So take this chip.
Is in Stockholm this morning with more on that. Kier, good morning.
You've seen it in the movies. A human being merges with a computer to become a so-called cyborg. Well, I have now had a computer chip inserted into my left hand. It cost around $300, and in a moment, in what will surely be a live television first, I'm going to open a door with my cyborg hand.
We're going to put a man inside a machine.
Okay, so they're not going to turn me into RoboCop, but here in Sweden, at this high-tech office block, they're going to inject a computer chip into my hand. Cecilia Osterholm starts her day with this new technology. She swapped her keys for a chip in her hand that uses a radio signal to open doors. You have a chip in your hand there?
That's right. It's been inserted there.
Right. We've watched technology take over our lives.
It's a smart house.
It even happens in Annie.
Think it and it's champagne.
And now it's coming true in real life. And with that, I became part man, part machine. Right, cue the superhuman music, guys. Here comes the big reveal. Here on my left hand, you can still see the mark, is where that chip has been inserted into my hand.
We already have your information. We have your Facebook, everything. We have your whole dossier. We're going to put it all up in here too with this chip. You're going to be able to access everything remotely. You're going to be fine. The greatest convenience you've ever had. We just need to know where you are and what you're doing, because we're being threatened here. What you want? Keep your house, keep your car, keep your children. A matter of fact, we'll clean some of your debt if you want. You owe money? We'll clean the debt. We'll give you some money. Take the mark of the beast. Bow to the real God of this world. That's the Apocrypha, brothers and sisters, telling us the mark of the beast instituted, and the choice believers will have to make when it's time. Now, when the grid fall off, when they acclimate the mark of the beast, brothers and sisters, now you're going to have brothers and sisters operating without the chip, without the mark, right? How do they make it to safety? What's going to happen? Right? That's what we're about to go into. Now, a couple of weeks ago, we went into Syria, bringing forth and actually showing, according to Scripture, why the governments are really in Syria. It has nothing to do with ISIS. It has nothing to do with some attacks and all that from some Islamic state that have nothing to do with it. Whatever they're telling you in the media, don't believe, okay? This is a systematic destruction and taking down of all the nations who went against God's people.
A makeshift mortuary full of little children has been making the rounds on social media the past few days. Sources claim that this is the result of heavy bombing by the French. The footage of these children is disturbing, ladies and gentlemen. It's so disturbing that I cannot even show it to you. There will be a link in the description if you must see it for yourself. But the video is outrageous. It makes you wonder, what are they bombing over there? Elementary schools or just residential neighborhoods? It's bad enough that we ourselves bombed a hospital just last month in Afghanistan and then ran a tank through it just to bury the evidence. But now it looks like the French have even outdone that. The French claim to be targeting training camps and terror command centers. Well, if that's the case, then what have we been doing for the last year and a half? Bombing camels and empty tents? How can there possibly be any training camps or command centers for the French to bomb after all the bombs that have been dropped on Syria already?
All right. And when this new world order is assumed, and after they go against Iran, okay, that's when they're going to aim. That's when it's only one other country they have to take down to acclimate into the system. They cannot have a new world order without all countries participating, including Iran. You understand? So they have to first go into Syria, then they have to attack Iran, and when they attack Iran, that's when all hell breaks loose. Which means there will be no need for them, after they attack Iran, there will be no need for them to do another false flag on an attack. The attacks will be real. They won't be false flags. Okay? They're just acclimating people. And they're putting the grid and the military in place, knowing what to expect once they attack Iran. Now, in the midst of this, you're going to have God's people in the middle saying, well, listen, what do? We're going to serve the Most High and follow the Sabbath and do the best we can. But guess what? Now the whole world is in derision now. The mark of the beast being instituted. Right? Now, all your family think you crazy because you're one of the very few who actually have the mark of the beast. You're the black sheep, quote unquote. Because you don't, now people think, well, you think you better than us? Now all the people have turned against the elect of the Most High, right? And eventually, we have to be led into a place of safety. Let's go into the ships of Tarshish. Right? And our deliverance according to the Bible. We went to Syria 2 weeks ago, right? Mm-hmm. Yep. Let's go to Isaiah, the 60th chapter. And so we're going to start talking about the ships of Tarshish, the last deliverance of God's people who are scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. Now, in order for me to get Tarshish, let me first go to Genesis 10 so you can identify the area from which the ships will be sent to gather and help and protect the righteous who have rejected the mark of the beast. Now, mind you, there will be a number of people within the Western countries who will die or choose to be martyred opposed to getting the mark of the beast, getting chipped. And let me ask a question real quick. Just an open question. What would be a reason that would pressure a person into saying, you know what, I'll get it. I'll get the chip. Anybody, anyone. Huh? Children. Mm-hmm. There you go. Children. The example I can give you, they make you feel like you have the plague if you decide not to get your child vaccine, even though you know the vaccines are killing and mess up the children. They won't even allow you to have your child leave the hospital unless what? They're vaccinated and all that, right? Now just imagine you have a child, and every child in the hospital now, according to law, must be chipped. And that's where you have your child. Right? You're not leaving there with that child. That child will be chipped. And if you're not, then you're going to leave the child. That's the system we're in. Hungry people, people who need food, people who suffer. So they have set up a system that the majority of our people really have minimal choices. We've been socialized, welfare. No more welfare checks, no more free food, no more free housing. We've been socialized. So the majority of our people will take the mark of the beast. And guess what, brothers and sisters? The majority of people we know will be chipped. And I'm going to tell you right now. Thank you. Once they're chipped, they are no longer who you used to know. I don't care how much you think you love them and what you feel about them and how you grew up around them. Believe it or not, they will be someone else. That's the truth of the matter. Let's go into the ships of Tarshish.
Genesis chapter 10, verse 4.
Yes.
In fact, I'll start at verse 2. The sons of Japheth.
Now, when you go into Genesis 10, it's giving you the family lines of the three sons of Noah. Their family line after the flood. To give you a synopsis or an overview of if you want to know who the families are. There's no what they would call mongoloids and all these other negroids. These are all terms, scientific terms they use to distort the biblical identification of family. Okay? All people in the earth come from one of three families. Ham, Shem, or Japheth. Okay? Come on.
The sons of Japheth, Gomer, and Magog, and Madai, and Javan, and Tubal, and Meshach, and Tyras. Jumping down to verse 4. And the sons of Javan, Elishai, and Tarshish.
And Tarshish. Now, the reason I'm going into this is because at the very end, brothers and sisters, there's going to be ships sent from the Great Sea, or what we call today the Mediterranean Sea. And these ships will be sent to save the refugees of Israel and God's chosen people throughout the four corners of the earth. They're going to be like, quote unquote, refugees. But it's not going to be the government putting people on rafts and sending them to certain countries to homogenize and to destroy the state. The Most High is going to preserve a sea, which is the Great Sea, the Mediterranean Sea, to have ships go out after the deluge and the destruction to begin to bring some of our poor people to the east. And the Mediterranean Sea is going to be one of the only seas still left with good fish in it, with good food in it. Now, the reason I'm going here, the sons of Javan, when you the sons of Japheth here, because the original land masses of Japheth was Europe, the Greek Isles, Greece, all of that was the original lands of Japheth. There's a sea that surrounds that area, that borders Israel too. It's called the Mediterranean Sea. The ships are going to come from this area according to scriptures. That area. It's going to come from that area to begin to get our people who are refugees throughout the earth, who decided not to receive the mark of the beast and who have made it through the deluge. Let me tell you, the New World Order, once constructed, will be the worst war mankind has ever experienced at any time before that event. When the New World Order is assumed, more people will die on this earth than at any time in history. In order to get this control that they want, they must exterminate the majority of the people. 90% of the people must be exterminated. Once the New World Order, in order for the New World Order to have a grip on the world and keep it. Right? 90%. We're going to show you. 90%. This is the plans that they plan in the G20, the New World Order, the governments of this earth. Under Satan, this is their plan. There's too many people to control. And right now, the gig is up. Everyone has awakened to their sorcery, their fake news, their fake religions. They're tired of it. And they realize it. So they're ramping up their system to depopulate. This is a spiritual war. It's with those who are with Satan, chiefly aiming towards the elect. 90% of the people they're aiming on destroying. Right? So now we got a geographical location. I wanted to point out Tarshish. Right? Let's go to Isaiah the 60th chapter and read the 9th through the 11th verse.
The book of Isaiah chapter 60 verse 9.
Yes.
Surely the isles shall wait for me.
Surely the isles shall wait for me. What islands is it speaking of? Huh? The islands of the Mediterranean Sea. Read.
Surely the isles shall wait for me, and the ships of Tarshish first, to bring thy sons from far.
To bring thy sons from far. Read.
Their silver and their gold with them, unto the name of the Most High Ahiah thy power, and to the Holy One of Israel, because he hath glorified thee.
You know what? Let's start at the first verse.
Verse 1. Isaiah 61. Arise, shine, for thy light is come, and the glory of the Most High is risen upon thee. For behold, the darkness shall cover the earth, and gross darkness the people. But the Lord shall arise upon thee, and his glory shall be seen upon thee.
Speaking of being seen upon his people, read.
Verse 3. And the Gentiles shall come to thy light, and the kings to the brightness of thy rising.
This is speaking of the coming of Christ. When he come back, there will be total darkness and destruction. Warn against the evils of this world, the principalities and powers of this world. Read.
And the Gentiles shall come to thy light, and kings to the brightness of thy rising. Lift up thine eyes round about and see. All they gather themselves together. They come to thee. Thy sons shall come from far, and thy daughters shall be nursed at thy side. Then thou shalt see and flow together, and thine heart shall fear, and be enlarged, because the abundance of the sea shall be converted unto thee. The forces of the Gentiles shall come unto thee.
All the riches that the Gentiles have received will come back to us. When it's speaking of the forces of the Gentiles, it's speaking of their riches, their power. Right? Don't forget, when Israel fell, the Gentiles got rich. They raided the temples of Solomon and all that. So all the great temples are really the finances of this earth. So when Christ break the power of these nations, all the riches and glory is going to come back to who? Jerusalem, God's people. Read.
Verse 6. The multitude of camels shall cover thee, the dromedaries of Midian and Ephah. All they from Sheba shall come. They shall bring gold and incense, and they shall show forth the praises of the Lord. All the flocks of Kedar shall be gathered together unto thee. The rams of Nebaioth shall minister unto thee. They shall come up with acceptance on mine altar, and I will glorify the house of my glory. Who are these that fly as a cloud, and as the doves to their windows? Surely the isles shall wait for me, and the ships of Tarshish first, to bring thy sons from far.
So we know at the very end, when Christ returns, he's going to have a decree to do what? To gather his people who are still out there. Right? So there's going to be a decree from the Mediterranean Sea that any ships that are still working must go out. And the nations who do have Israelites amongst them will gain mercy. They're going to be bringing Israelites to the glory of the Most High for mercy and saying, I preserved them, I've kept them. See, and that's why the Most High say we must make friends of the mammon. We can't be enemies with the nations. We must be friends with them, because the Most High is going to use a lot of them to preserve us alive. Right? Read.
Surely the isles, verse 9, surely the isles shall wait for me, and the ships of Tarshish first to bring thy sons from far.
See, and I wanted to point that out because this is the first thing Christ will do upon his return. First, when he returns, he's going to say, okay, after he's set up dominions and powers for those that have made it out of the wilderness, we're going to go into the wilderness in a moment. Once we went under the rod and that 10% is left, he's going to say, okay, I need you all to take the ships. There's some of my people out there. I need you to go get them. And he's going to show Israel where to go to get the elect that didn't get back to the east, that didn't make it back. Now, at this time that I'm reading here, there is no America at all. At this point, when Christ returned, there is no America. Because according to Scripture, no man or beast will be left after this war with Iran. No man or beast will make it. Why? Because America will not be a place of habitation. The nuclear waste from what will happen there. Now, I'm not talking about the bombs being dropped on it. I'm talking about all the nuclear reactors that strove all throughout the United States. Once something hits it, it's going to be a chain effect where all those nuclear reactors are going to go off and cause an earthquake. And the nuclear fallout is going to be so heinous that people will not be able to breathe or live in the United States. It's going to be radioactive. And that's when you read in Revelations 18 where all the nations sat afar off and seen her burning and started crying, and all the kings of the earth were crying. America must be destroyed so that the EU can gain power. So that now all power go back to who? Rome, the 10 horns, for 1 hour with the beast. Revelations, the 17th chapter. So what we're reading here in Isaiah, this is after America is already destroyed. Brothers and sisters are making the mistake in believing that America is the whole world. That's a condition, that's a program that they put in us, that if there's no America, there's no world. Keep in mind, brothers and sisters, America is the new world. Okay? America was, quote unquote, discovered. People were living in their home countries before there was any place called America. It was a place made for what? The captivity of God's people. So once the Most High began to set his people free, what use is it? When he says that he would take them off a land that their fathers didn't know, a curse. We knew nothing of America or that landmass because it was drifted far west. So once the Most High began to deliver his people, there will be no use for America. America was made to be glorified, then what? Destroyed. Now, does that feel good to know that? No. That doesn't feel good. I mean, do we know anyone else? Do we know any? That's our home as far as we know. But the reality is what we feel doesn't take precedent over what the Most High says. I don't, there's no resolve. I don't feel good about this, knowing how many people we love there. Mm-hmm. But as it is written, so shall it be done. Read.
Isaiah chapter 60, verse 10. And the sons of strangers shall build up thy walls.
See that?
And their kings shall minister unto thee.
That means the highest people of this society, of the nations, will minister to our people. Read.
For in my wrath I smote thee, but in my favor have I had mercy on thee.
So even though the Most High smote us and put us in captivity, he always had his mercy and love on us as a people. He never forgot his oath he made with our father Abraham. Mm-hmm. Let's go to Ezekiel Matter of fact, let's go to 2nd Esdras 13 and 39. 2nd Esdras 13 and 39.
2nd Esdras chapter 13 verse 39. And whereas thou sawest that he gathered another peaceable multitude unto him, those are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners out of their own land in the time of Hosea the king, whom Salmanassar the king of Assyria led away captive.
Now you've seen us go through this scripture over and over again, showing how the Indians and the other indigenous people got into the Americas, that we know that the original people of the Americas and of the South Pacifics and of Canada were the lost tribes of Israel. That's beyond any shadow of a doubt. Right? Read.
Whom Salmanassar the king of Assyria led away captive, and he carried them over the waters.
Now check this out. Read.
And so they came into another land.
They came into another land. Go on.
But they took this counsel among themselves.
They took the counsel among themselves what?
That they would leave the multitude of the heathen and go forth into a further country, where never mankind dwelt.
Go on.
That they might there keep their statutes which they never kept in their own land. And they entered into Euphrates by the narrow passages of the river, for the Most High then showed signs for them, and held still the flood, till they were passed over.
Come on.
For through that country there was a great way to go, namely of a year and a half. And the same region is called Arsareth.
Arsareth, which means hidden land, the place we call the Americas today. Go on.
Verse 46. Then dwelt they there until the latter time. And now when they shall begin to come.
When they shall begin to come, showing you the prophecy of Isaiah coming to fruition here. When they begin to come. Read.
47. The highest shall stay the springs of the stream again.
He's going to calm the rivers and the waters, the seas. Read.
That they may go through. Therefore thou sawest the multitude with peace.
So as you can see, how will the other tribes get back to Jerusalem? The same way they got there. The ships of Tarshish is going to come and grab them. I'm talking about those that rejected the mark and all that are still living through the deluge. And they're going to see ships off the shore coming to bring them back home. And the Most High is going to calm the waters, and the ships are going to come back and bring them in to the homeland. Right? Do y'all see that? Now there's something in between that I'm going to show y'all that's going to go down, which is what? The last, what you would call, trying ground. Remember when we said that 90% of the earth, 90% of God's people too, are going to be destroyed. But through that, out of the 90%, 2/3 of them have to go through something. Let's get it real quick. Let's go to 2nd Esdras 9 and 5. There's a few things we got to get, and good to see you, bro.
2nd Esdras chapter 9 verse 5. For like as all that is made in the world hath a beginning and an end.
Come on.
And the end is manifest. Even so the times also of the highest have plain beginnings and wonders and powerful works, and endings and effects and signs. Verse 7. And everyone that shall be saved and shall be able to escape by his works and by faith.
So how are they going to be able to escape?
By his works and by faith.
Read it again.
And everyone that shall be saved and shall be able to escape by his works and by faith, whereby ye have believed, shall be preserved from the said perils, and shall see my salvation in my land and within my borders.
See that? So now the Most High has given us a key indicator on who he would choose to populate and rule the kingdom. Crystal clear. Right? Read it again.
shall be preserved from the said perils, and shall see my salvation in my land and within my borders. For I have sanctified them for me from the beginning.
That means he have chosen and cleansed these people that will make it into the kingdom in the beginning. They're already chosen. Right? Read on.
Verse 9. Then shall they be in pitiful case.
See that? But of course we have to go through what? Pearls. Read.
Then shall they be in pitiful case, which now have abused my ways.
Oh, he's talking about those that did wrong. Go on.
And they that have cast them away despitefully shall dwell in torments.
So it's speaking of those who chose the mark of the beast and chose to do what they wanted to do and not believe and have faith in the Most High. See? Read that last piece again.
Verse 9. Then shall they be in pitiful case.
These are the people that's going to be sorry they didn't make the right choice during this time. Read. Who didn't have faith in the Most High. Who said, well, you know what? If the Most High is going to kill me, or if I'm going to go to hell because of some chick, then that's not a God I want to serve. And I hear Christians say stuff like all that all the time, as if they can choose what God they're going to serve.
Right.
Any God that's going to allow this to happen to me, that's not a God I want to serve. Yeah, you want to serve Satan. So let's give you the scriptures on that. You want to serve Satan. You don't want to serve a God in which there's rules, right? You want to serve a God that you can do anything you want, get the mark of the beast, eat anything you want, celebrate Christmas and Sunday worship and do all the things under the Babylonian system, and you want that God to accept you. That's okay. His name is Satan. Is that clear? That's his name. There's only one God that will accept and love you for whatever you want to do. So those that, and guess what? Everyone will have the same choice. Everyone. You're going to know at that point, you're going to know that this choice is a life-changing point one way or the other when it's time. That means if somebody is standing up to you and they have a gun pointed to you and say, you choose this syringe or the gun. If that ever happened, brothers and sisters, choose the gun. I'm going to tell you that right now because your spirit cannot deal with what comes afterwards. It never ends. It never stops. Okay? We're just going through. Our spirits are eternal. If you think this is it, you haven't been reading. You are not prepared to deal with what happens when you wake up. Okay? There is a hell. And there is judgment. How do we know that? Because scriptures tells us what happens to the spirits that fell, that was bound. They're in a place. And the scripture tells us there's a final judgment for them who followed those that fell. Your spirits are eternal, brothers and sisters. You will always feel. You will always be conscious. That will never change. Okay, don't think you go into the ground and that's it. I mean, a lot of us wish it was that way, but it's not that way. We're the essence and we are part of the eternal. Therefore, our spirits are eternal. So that choice will be not only a life choice that day, that will be what? An eternal choice. What you want to do. And you have your family sit there crying. Listen, what we going to do? I mean, why don't you come over here with us? We're fine. No, you're going to hell. Okay? You going to hell over there. Listen, do what you got to do with that gun. I'm going to see you, buddy. Shalom. I'm fine. I mean, what do you think the disciples did and Christ did? They were given choices. Sometimes every time we must stand for what's right. And you want your last action to be a right one. Okay? Now, who knows? You may make the choice, and guess what? The Most High may deliver you out of that anyway. Once you say, well, listen, do what you got to do. The Most High may send an intervention. And you may make it through that. But if you choose the mark, you're not going to make it through that one. Read it.
Verse 9. Then shall they be in pitiful case,
come on,
which now have abused my ways, and that they have cast them away despitefully shall dwell in torments, for such as in their life have received benefits.
That means they received benefits. They had everything going for them. Read.
And
what verse you at?
Verse 10. And have not known me, and they that have loathed my law while they had yet liberty.
Hold up. Those that hated the Most High's law while they had liberty. These are people who look down on the Bible. These are people who hate rules, spiritual rules. See? They hate God. They hate the Most High. They hate Christ. Read.
And when as yet place of repentance was open unto them.
So even though they hated the Most High still gave them a place of repentance. I don't care what atheists and others say. They know the Most High is real. They just choose to not believe it so that they can sin. They just choose to ignore it and think by ignoring it, they escape the punishment that comes with believing on that God. But no, there's no escape. Because even when, I'm speaking of starch atheist, the Most High give everyone a place of repentance where you know he's real. And then you can make a choice whether or not to stay in your ignorance or to serve the living God. It doesn't matter whether or not you're an atheist or a Satanist or whatever. No matter what you are, the Most High always give you an opportunity, a door out. Right? Read.
When as yet place of repentance was open unto them.
And when the Most High opened the door for you.
Understood not but despised it. The same must know it after death by pain.
Hold up now. So the Most High gave you an opportunity. Even though you didn't deserve it. He opened the door for you and say, serve me. So if you ignored and say, not only did you ignore the door, you began to be fervent against the God that opened the door for you. You started to talk down against the Most High, and you became more of a spiritual demon afterwards. The Most High says that person must know he was wrong after death through pain. So don't think pain stops when we die. The examples I give over and over again, you can do what you want to do to a carcass. It will not scream. It won't say it's in pain. Why? Because the pain was connected to the spirits that was connected to the nerves and the brain. The pain came through consciousness. When your spirit leaves, the pain stays, that the pain goes with the conscience. You still feel. Right? Read.
Verse 13. And therefore be thou not curious how the ungodly shall be punished.
It says,
and when.
Be not curious of how the ungodly shall be punished and when.
But inquire how the righteous shall be saved.
But we should be inquiring how the righteous shall be saved. See? You have so many people with doctrines, with the doom and gloom doctrine, and all they talk about is what happens bad if you don't serve the Most High, and what's going to happen to people for doing this, that, and the other. But we should more so inquire on how what? The righteous shall be saved. Right? Few more. Right? Let's go to Ezekiel 38 and 10.
Ezekiel chapter 38 verse 10. Thus saith the Most High, Ahia. It shall also come to pass that at that same time shall things come into thy mind, and thou shalt think an evil thought. And thou shalt say, I will go up to the land.
No, we're going to save that one. I want to deal directly with the gathering of our people real quick. Let's go to Matthew 24. Matthew 24 and 28.
St. Matthew chapter 24, verse 28.
Yes.
For wheresoever the carcass is, so I will read verse 27. For as the lightning cometh out of the east, and
as the lightning cometh out of the east, read.
And shineth even unto the west.
And shineth even unto the west, read.
So shall also the coming of the Son of Man be.
So here it is. Christ is coming from where? He's coming eastward. He's coming the same way the sun rises. His entry will be from that point. Okay. Now, I'm putting this out there because I don't know if you've seen some research years ago under the Gulf of Aden or the Gulf of Eden. All the military ships throughout the world body have ships in that particular area. They're already preparing to fight physically against what's coming into this realm. It's not an asteroid. It's not a space invader. It's not Planet X. They're preparing for the coming of Christ. They know exactly how he's coming into the earth. It's in record. Y'all with me, right? Read. Here's a key indicator here. What's going to happen? Read.
Verse 28. For wheresoever the carcass is,
where the carcass is,
there will the eagles be gathered together.
There will the who be gathered together?
The eagles be gathered together.
Who will be gathered together?
The eagles be gathered together.
Though thou exalt thyself as the eagle. Who's that? Edom, Rome, right? And the New World Order is trying to do what? Right now. They're trying to take power over what? The Middle East. Right? But are they there to gain entry or gain power over the order, the oil and the world resources? That's what they think they're there for. They're really in the Middle East for the coming of Christ, so that he can crush their armies. All the armies are going into the Middle East to be destroyed. Therefore, no army, no what? No world power. That's how Christ is going to break their military power upon his return. So all the New World Order governments are in Africa, Middle East and all that. They're sending all their men over there. That's going to be their own demise. Where the eagle is, what's going to be there also?
For wheresoever the carcass is, there will the eagles be gathered together.
Y'all see that? Now we're going to go into those carcasses in 1 second. Let's go to Isaiah 66 and 15.
Isaiah chapter 66 verse 15.
Come on.
For behold, the Lord will come with fire, and with his chariots like a whirlwind.
So when Yeshua break the atmosphere, he's coming with what? His chariots like a whirlwind. Okay, we're not talking about Roswell, they little stinking technology they think they got because they can disappear and all that mess. Listen, Christ's vehicles and the angel vehicles don't crash. Okay, and I'm going to tell you, the majority of the ships that these orbs people are seeing, they're actual American and German and Russian technology. They've been doing those ships for a long time. But Christ is, when his wheels come into the system and come into this whole realm, the whole world going to understand it. It's not going to be no little disappearing act, something trying to hide behind a cloud or something. That's a hot demonic mess, what I'm seeing there. That's low technology. They had these, when you look on the pyramids and all the other ancient artifacts, They claim the gods always came down in them. These orbs, these traveling orbs. They're just vehicles. They're technological vehicles that the demonic forces, that the fallen angels' children and the fallen angels operate in. It's not what Christ's coming back with. Okay, read.
For behold, the Lord will come with fire and with his chariots like a whirlwind.
Come on.
To render his anger with fury and his rebuke with flames of fire. Verse 16. For by fire and by his sword will the Lord plead with all flesh. And the slain of the Lord shall be many. Verse 17.
The Most High is coming back. The Most High is sending Christ back with total destruction. Okay, Christ is not asking no questions. He already came. He came in a peaceful manner, like a lamb to the slaughter on purpose. That was his function the first time. He's going to be a cold takedown lion upon his return. That means he's the most, according to this world, he's the most hideous scenario coming from the heavens. How we look at the devil and Satan, that's how they view Christ. Because he's not coming for their turn. Now you see why they speak against him and try to minimize who he is and try to minimize the Bible and make jokes on him and all that. That's why they do that, because they understand in prophecy he's their tormentor. And not only that, before he destroys the armies, he's going to bound that little snake that's leading them. That little worm they call Satan. He's a worm with a capital M. And they look at this guy as Lucifer. Listen, this dude fell a long time ago. He's not Lucifer no more. That worm is going to be detained. We're going to go. He's going to be in a FEMA camp.
Right.
We're going to get him in a couple of seconds too. He's going to be in an eternal camp. We're going to go into his slaying and enslavement. Read.
Verse 17. They that sanctify themselves and purify themselves in the gardens.
Listen to this.
Behind one tree in the midst, eating swine's flesh.
But in the midst of the wilderness, after all this destruction go down, we're going to be in the wilderness, brothers and sisters. We're going to show you in the wilderness. We're going to have our people in the wilderness cooking pork. Let's go. Hold that. Let's go to Ezekiel 20 real quick. And 33. We're going right back there. What verse you left off at?
Verse 17.
Great.
Ezekiel 20, verse 33.
Come on.
As I live, saith the Lord, the Most High Ahiah, surely with a mighty hand and with a stretched out arm and with fury poured out will I rule over you.
So while the Most High is sending Christ to destroy, what's going on? He's also gathering our people. Like we read in the ships of Tarshish, he's moving us into areas. He's getting us out of the way of this satanic order, right? Read.
34. And I will bring you out from the people and will gather you out of the countries wherein you're scattered.
See that? Go ahead.
With a mighty hand and with a stretched out arm and with fury poured out.
Now, according to what we've read in Isaiah, how will the Most High, through Christ, gather those that are not in the wilderness yet? The ships of Tarshish. Exactly. So now Christ is warning, taking down countries and all that, while he's gathering us into a protective area. Right? Go on.
Verse 35.
Come on.
And I will bring you out into the wilderness of the people, and there will I plead with you face to face.
He will plead with us face to face. Go on.
Like as I pleaded with your fathers in the wilderness of the land of Egypt, so will I plead with you, saith the Most High Ahiah. And I will cause you to pass under the rod, and I will bring you into the bond of the covenant.
Now, when he says, I will cause you to pass under the rod, right? Let's go to Leviticus, what we have in Leviticus real quick. He will cause Israel that's in the wilderness to pass through the rod. Right? Read.
Leviticus.
Oh, look, a few people still have pages there.
Leviticus 27 and 32.
Leviticus 27 and 32 breaks down Israel going through the rod. What this means.
And concerning the tithe of the herd.
And concerning the tithe of the herd. A tithe is what? 10%, right? Go on.
Or of the flock, even whatsoever passeth under the rod, the 10th shall be holy unto the Most High.
The 10th shall be holy unto the Most High. So what is the Most High doing in Ezekiel, the 20th chapter? He's taking a tenth of those that are left in the wilderness. See that? He's pleading with us face to face in Ezekiel 20. We're in the wilderness now. We've been gathered through the ships of Tarshish and all that. But even though we're in the wilderness, that don't mean we're going to make it past that point. We still have to make it out of the wilderness into the land.
Mm-hmm.
See that? Go back to Ezekiel.
Ezekiel chapter 20, verse 38.
Come on.
37. And I will cause you to pass under the rod, and I will bring you into the bond of the covenant. And I will purge out from among you the rebels.
The rebels are who? Read.
And them that transgress against me.
And those that are doing what? Breaking the law in the wilderness. Are you seeing that? Now let's go back to Isaiah with this guy behind a tree.
It's more here real quick.
Go ahead, read it.
I will bring them forth out of the country where they sojourn.
I will bring them forth out of the country that they sojourn.
And they shall not enter into the land of Israel.
And they shall not enter into the land of Israel. Now, according to what we read right there, who's going to lead Israel back into Israel? Christ. So if someone is telling you to go into Israel without going through this first under Christ, what are they telling you? According to the scriptures, these are the stages Israel must take under Christ before getting the land. Right now, that land is being ravished and overran by who? The Gentiles, the Romans. It has been taken. So anyone tell you that there's an obligation according to the Most High to go into the land, they are against Christ himself. I don't care what they tell you. These are the stages that Christ will lead us into the land. I mean, you don't think we can go into Israel right now if we wanted to? Who couldn't? Israel is westernized. You can go into Israel if you want. Why do you think that we're not going in to Israel? Why? Because the scriptures in Isaiah tell you all the country he's going to gather us out. In Isaiah, the 11th chapter. Let's go to Isaiah 11 real quick.
Isaiah chapter 11, verse 11.
Come on.
And it shall come to pass in that day, saith the Lord, or that the Lord shall set his hand again, the second time, to recover the remnant of his people.
See that? To recover the remnant of his people.
Which shall be left from Assyria, and from Egypt, and from Pathros, and from Cush, and from Elam, and from Shinar, and from Hamath, and from the islands of the sea.
Hold up now. Do you wonder why it doesn't have the land of Israel in the places we'll be gathered out of? Have you ever wondered that? Where is the Most High sending Christ to deliver Israel out of Israel? Out of the lands of Israel. It don't exist, does it? It don't exist. Why? Because why? We were accursed, and the Most High told us to stay off of the land. He scattered us. And he was going to send his son to do what? To deliver the land back into our hands after it's purged through fire. It says brought back from the sword. Give me the one where it says the land brought back from the sword in Ezekiel. I only have a few more. Yes?
Is it more or less like Exodus?
Huh?
Is it more or less like Exodus?
Is it more so like Exodus?
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's like, how can Israelites go into the land of Israel or the land of Canaan to wait to be delivered into Canaan? Did it make any sense to you? So all the people of our people that are going into Israel are anti-Christ. I'm going to tell you that straight up. And guess what? They're going to be a Holocaust. They will be sacrificed there. Holocaust is what? Death through fire. Sacrifice. And when they war with Iran, there will be a Holocaust. And all the Europeans who have any sense are going to leave Israel before those that are in the know. They're going to leave Israel before the next war, and they're going to go back into Europe. They're going back to Rome. And all of our people who thought that we were escaping somewhere into Israel are going to be burned and destroyed in that land. Okay? All those groups that made an excavation into Israel and all that, all of them were off. Every last one of them. The Old Testament tells us the lands the Most High will gather us from. Right? Are these my words? No. What you have, other lawyer?
This is the rest of Isaiah 66.
Yes. What verse?
Verse 19.
Come on.
And I will set a sign among them, and I will send those that escape of them unto the nations, to Tarshish, Pul, and Lud, that draw the bow, to Tubal and Javan, to the isles afar off, that have not heard my fame, neither have seen my glory, and they shall declare my glory among the Gentiles.
See that? So when the ships are going out, when they're going out to grab people, guess what? The glory of Christ's return is actually going to be prophesied and talked about throughout the earth. And this is after the Roman Empire is crushed. And the papacy and that papal rapist, him totally hog-tied and destroyed into hell next to Satan too. This is when their total power is taken.
Mm-hmm.
Read on.
Verse 20. And they shall bring all your brethren for an offering unto the Most High out of all nations upon horses and in chariots and in litters and upon mules and upon swift beasts to my holy mountain Jerusalem, saith the Lord, as the children of Israel bring an offering in a clean vessel unto the house of the Lord.
So all the Gentiles are going to be like, yo, I got an Israelite over here. Look, I took right care of him. I looked out for him. Hey, listen, I ain't charge you nothing, did I?
Right.
I need a kingdom hookup. All the nations are going to be glad to be associated with us in that day. Okay? There will be no media to criminalize us and make us seem like second-class citizens and make us feel that we're less than people. The whole media apparatus and Satan's program will be utterly wasted and destroyed. And people are going to appreciate the Most High's people. And guess what? When they come with they're going to be looking for Israelites to bring.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, look at, hey, bro, hey, are you black? Come here, hey, man. Hey,
right.
I was the plague 4 years ago.
Right.
Oh no, brother, you like pure gold. You looking golden right now. Let me come over here and take you up to the kingdom. Like, yo, brother, back up, man. No, man, I'm with you.
Let me read this real quick.
It's going to be a changing of the guard.
Read this real quick in Zechariah 8:23.
Come on.
It says, "Thus saith the Most High of hosts, in those days it shall come to pass that 10 men shall take hold out of all the languages of the nations, even shall take hold of the skirt of him that is a Jew, saying, We will go with you, for we have heard that the Most High is with you."
Check that out. They're going to try to take the skirt. They're going to try to grab on the shirt of an Israelite saying, man, listen, the Most High is with you. We're going with you. And I'm going to tell you, to some degree, through the power of the Most High, it's already beginning. Where they're cleaving to the Most High's people. Let me tell you, what's going on in this earth is an anomaly within itself. This Bible wasn't taught like this. We grew up in church and all that. It wasn't until we came out of mainstream religion that we realized what the Bible was really dealing with and talking about. And now the Bible is being taught in its proper perspective. The majority of the earth is saying, well, listen, we need to look at the Bible this way. And they're starting to cleave into God's people and say, listen, we want to be down with that. That's what's going to happen. A few more. There's other things that I'm behind the time. So let me just go here real quick. Let's go to Ezekiel 39. We will suffer out continual employment too amongst the nations.
Ezekiel chapter 39, I'll start at verse 8.
Yes.
"Behold, it is come, and it is done, saith the Most High.
It is come, it is done.
This is the day whereof I have spoken."
Speaking of the day of our Lord and Savior.
"And they that dwell in the cities of Israel shall go forth and set on and burn the weapons, both the shields and the bucklers, the bows and the arrows, and the handstaves and the spears, and they shall burn them with fire 7 years."
So what's going to happen here for a Jubilee? Once we're taken into the land, Christ will give a command for all the leaders over Israel to go out throughout the whole earth, a decree to take all the weapons of the Gentiles and destroy their weaponry. A 7-year cleansing. See that? In order to have a real one world order, you can't have no opposition, right? No weapons, no nothing. So the first 7 years will be a total jubilee, a 7 year of warfare and taking all the weaponry of the nations. Now China won't be a superpower. There will be no other superpowers in this earth at all. Period. All the Satanists are going to get killed and destroyed. Utterly destroyed. No, and guess what? The whole government, the law will come from what? From Israel. That means the whole earth is following the one God, Ahaya, Ashar, Ahaya. And the whole earth and all nations are following the commandments of the Most High. No pedophiles, no homosexuals, no thieves, no liars, no covetous, no idolaters. A total righteous world. Who don't want that? A 7-year takedown. All the weaponry. Right? Read.
That's deep, because they think they're taking everyone else's weapons through anti-gun laws.
Exactly.
But when this thing is established, their guns are going to get taken away.
Yeah, this is the real confiscation.
Exactly.
You know, and it ain't going to take Sandy Hook to bring it either.
Right.
You know what I mean? It ain't going to take this guy. I love to bring him out, Gene Rosen. Like to just show the people him real quick. There will be a real confiscation of weapons. It's not going to be through no false flag Paris attacks. No false flag. It's going to be a total. This is what they want, right? They want.
Yep.
They want gun control. Right? Here's gun control. No weapons. All nations will have no weapons. There will be, for real, a real sense of talk concerning peace. And it's not going to be any peace talks. It ain't going to be no negotiation. Well, can you scale down your weapons?
Right.
No. All nations will bow and confess that he's Lord. Right? A 7-year takedown. And guess who will be those in position to take down the nations? The children of God. The same poor people you have looked down upon and said was nothing. The Most High says Israel is his battle axe and weapons of war. See, and that's when vengeance is the Most High, and then Christ gives the decree, that's when it becomes physical. And not until then. It's totally spiritual until Christ returns. Right? Now,
there's more here if you want.
Go ahead. Yeah, keep on going.
Verse 10. So that they shall, Ezekiel 39:10, so that they shall take no wood out of the field, neither cut down any out of the forest. For they shall burn the weapons with fire, and they shall spoil those that spoil them.
The Bible says we will spoil those who spoiled us. This is Christ doing this. Read.
And rob those that rob them, saith the Most High.
And rob those that robbed them. That's total righteousness. A lot of people didn't even know this was in the Bible. Christ is sending his people out, his army out, to rob those that robbed his people. Okay, I'll take that back. I'll take that back. Yeah. No. You get nothing. We get everything, and then we distribute. Okay? That's how it works. Okay, this is what we receive for denying this satanic world and serving the true living God. We have suffered long enough. We have tolerated your foolishness. And this is it. This is an eternity. This is a 1,000 years of bliss before another judgment. Read.
Verse 11. And it shall come to pass in that day that I will give unto Gocc a place there of graves in Israel, the valley of passengers on the east of the sea, and it shall stop the noses of the passengers. And there shall they bury Gocc and all his multitude, and they shall call it the valley of Hamon-Gog.
These are all the nations that fought against us, that have now built their armies in the valley of Jehoshaphat. This is where the carcasses will be, what I'm reading right here. So many dead of the armies of the new world that it will stop the noses of those who are left. The Bible. So they think they're going there to lay a pipeline or to secure some oil and all. Nah. You're going there so that now the army that you've sent out to control the world gets stomped out. So now there's no opposition, and Israel throughout the four corners of the earth is finally free. No military, no captivity. See? Read.
Verse 12. In 7 months shall the house of Israel be burying of them.
It's going to be so many dead in the Middle East that it's going to take 7 months to bury them. A 7-month burial. See how the Most High do everything is in 7? 7-year takedown, then 7-month burial. Read.
That they may cleanse the land. 13. Yea, all the people of the land shall bury them, and it shall be to them a renowned day, that I shall be glorified, saith the Lord. And they shall sever out men of continual employment.
So out of the nations, because we're not going to be burying them, we're going to have the nations burying their own people. It tells us this. We're going to sever out from amongst the nations for continual employment. Read.
Passing through the land to bury with passengers those that remain upon the face of the earth, to cleanse it. After the end of 7 months shall they search. And the passengers that pass through the land, when any seeth a man's bone, then shall he set up a sign by it, till the buriers have buried it in the valley of Hamon-Gog. And also the name of the city shall be Hamona. Thus shall they cleanse the land.
Okay. So in chronological order, what happens is circumstances is going to make Israel begin to run into the wilderness areas, right? When Christ returns, he's going to war against the armies, and the nations that are left that are not in the wilderness areas of our people, the ships of Tarshish is going to go out throughout the four corners and bring them with the rest. Then the purging is going to happen amongst them, and a tenth of them is going to make it through. And out of that tenth, the Most High is going to decree and send the law out. Then it's going to be a 7-year takedown of all the nations. The first 7 months is going to be burying the nations and the militaries that are in the Middle East. And the rest of that 7 years will be the taking of the weapons of all the other nations, so there will be total peace for 1,000 years after the takedown. Is that crystal clear? Get any clearer than that? But how do we get to the wilderness? Circumstances. First of all, we're going to be in certain areas that the Bible says in Isaiah the 11th chapter. And through persecution, when the New World Orders begin to come after certain countries and bite down with laws against the people, circumstances are going to lead Israel out to go to the wilderness areas to be protected. Then all the nations that tell you round about is going to stop fighting each other and say, let's go and try to destroy those that have been taken, that are relaxed in comfort. They're going to try to come against us, and that's when Christ will return in that wilderness. Okay? Now, one other thing I wanted to go into is because some people are getting confused, the Gog and Magog. They're looking at the Gog and Magog in Ezekiel and relating that Gog and Magog to the Gog and Magog in Revelations. That is an error. And I'm going to prove that right now before we end. The Gog and Magog in Revelations is speaking of what happens after the millennial reign of Christ. The Ezekiel scenario is about to happen now. The Gog and Magog in Ezekiel is different than the Gog and Magog in Revelations. How do we know that? Elder Lawyer, I need you to get my Strong's Concordance real quick. Get Gog and Magog, get the one in the Old Testament in Ezekiel, and I need you to get the one in Revelations. And I'm saying this because when you use your precept Bibles, brothers and sisters, your precepts will precept Ezekiel 38 and 39 with Revelations. And it will precept it. Why? Because precepted is not correct all the time. Sometimes precepts connect through similarities of words. If it's the same word, it will be precept connected in the Bible. Okay? Get Gog, then Magog.
All right, this is H 1463.
And that's in the Hebrew, right?
Mm-hmm.
Come on.
Gog, or in Hebrew, Gowog. It says Gog, the name of an Israelite, also of some northern nation.
A northern nation, read.
Gog.
Now get Magog.
Magog. This is 40:31.
Come on.
Magog. It says Magog, a son of Japheth.
A son of Japheth. We know that Japheth is who? Japheth is the Asian people. Also, the Iranians are Japheth. See that? So it's speaking of, when he says, I will put hook in their jaws and bring them back into the war, it's speaking of the Japhetic countries coming into the Middle Eastern war. Like Iran, like China, as you can see, now China has a place financially, has a financial stake in the Middle East now, and in Africa. That's putting the hooks in their jaws and bringing them back. When it speaks of Gog and Magog, it is not speaking of Russia. Gog and Magog, those lands of Russia, was originally Japhetic lands before the Greeks came on the scene. So it's not speaking of Russia, it's speaking of the Asian people and Iran. Now let's get Gog and Magog in the New Testament to show you it's an entirely different word and an entirely different prophecy. So you cannot relate Ezekiel's Gog and Magog with Revelation's Gog and Magog in Revelations 20. Two distinct separate timelines, two distinct separate meanings from the Greek to the Hebrew. You have it?
Mm-hmm.
Read Gog from Revelations 20, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, come on.
This is Gog in the Greek, G1136. Gog, a symbolic name for some future Antichrist.
For some future Antichrist. So as you can see, Gog is a nation coming up to war against Israel in Ezekiel. In Revelations, it's an Antichrist party. After the end of the 1,000 years, Satan is going to be loose in Revelations 20, and he's going to join a band of Gentiles together to come against us. They're going to be Antichrist that will be destroyed at the end of the 1,000-year reign. See that? Now let's get Magog.
Magog, this is G3098.
Yes.
Magog, a foreign nation, i.e. figuratively, an anti-Christian party.
An anti-Christian party. Do you all see that? Two distinct meanings. So those people make a mistake when they try to relate the prophecies of after the 1,000 years in Revelations with the stories of Ezekiel. Ezekiel is speaking of the nations coming against us while we're in the wilderness. Well, guess what? After the 1,000 years, when Satan is loose, he's going to try it again by stirring up the nations and trying to get them to convert into his religion and to try to get them to fight against us. And it will rain fire, and they will be utterly destroyed, those that join that party. Two distinct stories, two distinct scenarios and situations. Y'all got that? Y'all see that? I wanted to put that out there. All right. All right. And of course, we're going to pick up a lot of this. Who knows what's going to happen between now and our class 9 in the morning? I mean, I tell you, I'll be looking forward to seeing what Shapad is going to go into. I have no idea no one finds news like this guy, but who knows? They might have another false flag between 9 and 8 in the morning, so we'll see. It says, here's a few questions, Elder Lawyer. Is this Christ in Joshua 5:13 through 15? Let's get that real quick.
The book of Joshua, chapter 5, verse 13 through 15.
Yes.
And it came to pass when Joshua was by Jericho that he lifted up his eyes and looked. There stood a man over against him with his sword drawn in his hand. And Joshua went unto him and said unto him, Art thou for us, or for our adversaries? And he said, Nay, but as a captain of the host of the Lord am I now come. And Joshua fell on his face to the earth and did worship, and said unto him, What saith my Lord unto his servant? And the captain of the Lord's host said unto Joshua, Loose thy shoe from off thy foot, for the place whereon thou standest is holy. And Joshua did so.
When it says a captain of the captain, it's speaking of a top angel right there. That's a top angel of the Most High. That's not Christ himself. That's a top angel in the rankings of the angelic forces. Let's get Exodus 23 and 20.
Exodus chapter 23, verse 20.
Yes.
Behold, I send an angel before thee to keep thee in the way and to bring thee into the place that I prepared.
That's Christ.
Right.
That's Christ there. All right. Shalom, elders. Great lesson. All praise be to the Most High. Why do Roman Catholic priests and some pastors wear those censored? It's censored. Are there any scriptures that they use to justify this, or is it something that the Roman Catholics just made up? Well, there's no scriptural justification for anything the Roman Catholics do. Okay? What they wear and what they stand for is Babylonian, paganistic traditions. The hat they wear, the open fish head, is like it's like the worship of a Dagon god. So everything they do is satanic and Babylonian ritualistic. It has nothing to do with the scriptures at all. The only time you can relate them to scriptures when it talks about the whore of Babylon, arrayed in gold and purple. That's what they wear, scarlet and purple. Okay, that's what some of their the ministers wear. The colors is indicative of the whore of Babylon that we read in Revelations. Isaiah 62 and 4. What does Hetzphabah and Beulah mean? The water. Isaiah 62 and 4.
Isaiah chapter 62 verse 4. Thou shalt no more be termed forsaken, neither shall thy land any more be termed desolate. But thou shalt be called Hephzibah, and thy land Beulah. For the Lord delighteth in thee, and thy land shall be married.
Let's get that in Hebrew.
Translates it here. It says, Hephzibah is my delight.
My delight. My delight is Hezbollah. Hezbollah.
And Beulah is married.
And Beulah means marry. We won't be forsaken. We're going to marry the groom.
The verse actually explains it. What they mean.
It explains it. Yeah. All right. What's the next one, lawyer? Here.
It says, Shalom, elders. Missed you both last Sabbath. Love you, brothers, for bringing the truth. All praises to the Most High. What part does the cell phone play in the mark of the beast or control?
Well, the cell phone don't play anything in the mark of the beast. It's just a conditioning tool to get you adjusted into using something with your hand. So it's a conditioning tool. What they're going to do is they're acclimating us from the cell phone into the RFID to the point where people won't think twice about getting a chip shot in them. So it's more so acclimation, more so than anything. If you have a cell phone, you don't have the mark of the beast. If you get a chip shot in you, now you are merging yourself with a satanic power. You understand? That will be in your bloodstream, control your mind, and allow you to do all types of evil and wicked things. It will actually be a control mechanism. And that's why it tells us in Revelations, the 14th chapter, that whoever take this this mark, you will be utterly destroyed. You'll be wasted. You will die and get destroyed with Satan. What's next?
Someone says, will the Most High make a way for worthy Gentiles in the truth to make their way out of Babylon if their spouses or family could be a hindrance to migrating?
Well, this don't have nothing to do with what other people talk about not doing. The Most High is going to make a way for everyone that does the right thing, regardless of circumstance and people. See, I don't like to tie in all these other elements with what the Most High say. Okay. You have to make a choice on what's right according to the Most High. You understand? So it has nothing to do with other people.
Someone says, my spirit is edified thanks to the powerful lesson. I have a question. My father is a Christian pastor, so I was raised being taught only Christian values.
Okay.
And
a lot of it is good. A lot of Christian values are good. Read on.
And I knew nothing about my Israelite roots or what the Most High's name was until now. If I'm his elect, why would the Most High choose me over another Christian who also didn't know?
Why would the Most High choose you over another Christian? That is a good question. The reality is that time and chance happen to all men. Okay, you don't know how many times Christians have received the information, have gotten the opportunity, but didn't jump on it like you. Just because the Most High gave everyone a chance. But some people, they would rather believe the delusion. But when you do know, the scriptures say, blessed are your eyes that you see and your ears that you hear. So that's even more reason to praise and thank the Most High for opening your eyes. And be careful. Be very careful, because you may think you're doing yourself a service by saying, well, since I'm a Christian and seen it, I want everybody to see it, and try to enforce your will on someone who don't want it. Christ says you can't cast your pearls before swine lest they rend you under feet. You go to people who are against the Most High and try to bring them this word, they will utterly try to waste you. So be wise in this, and just thank the Most High for the opportunity to be in his word and have the light, and be patient with it. Not to say that he won't wake up other Christians. Of course, the majority of us who know the truth now learn primarily from a Christian background. Started in the Christian church. So there's some hope, because at least they believe in Christ. There's some hope there. What you have, Elder Lawyer?
This is St. John 6:44.
Yes.
No man can come to me except the Father which hath sent me draw him, and I will raise him up at the last day. So,
exactly. The Father drew you to the truth. He saw fit to draw you. He gave other people opportunity. But, and I used to say this on the street when I was on the street. I used to look at how many people actually listen. And I'm talking about religiously, would come often. And I looked at the amount of people that actually came in to do the work of the Most High, and came in to actually serve the Most High. And that number of those that came in paled in comparison to the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people I would see crowded out there. So, what's next here?
Someone says, Shalom family, please explain Constajan.
What's that?
2:16.
Now let's go here. What's this here?
We got those.
Okay then. Yeah. Please explain Constajan 2:16. What is Constajan? You heard of that?
I assume they're saying Colossians or something like that. Maybe Colossians.
Oh, Colossians?
Yeah, maybe if they can just clarify.
Yeah, okay. Well, let's read Colossians 2:16 for the sake of time.
Right. Let's see here.
All right.
Colossians chapter 2, verse 16. Let no man therefore judge you in meat or in drink or in respect of an holy day.
So let's break it down. Let no man therefore judge you in what?
In meat.
In meat. That means judge what you eat.
Or in drink.
Or what you drink.
Or in respect of an holy day.
Or in respect of a holy day.
Or the new moon or of the Sabbath days.
Or the new moon or the Sabbath days. Now, when it says, let no man judge you, when it's saying, let no man judge you, the churches will say, because usually you go there and ask them, well, why are you eating pork, shrimp, crab, lobster? Why are you celebrating Christmas? Why are you not worshiping on the Sabbath? They'll pull this scripture out on you. They're saying that when you bring up the fact that the Most High say, remember the Sabbath, you're judging them. Well, guess what? They're not rightly dividing the word of truth. Because if you were judging them according to the law, you would kill them. So the proper context of these scriptures, when it says, let no man judge you of meat and drink. During Paul's time, you had Jews that would come into the church of Colossia, and that was saying because Israelites weren't following the holy days, they needed to die or be banished from amongst the men of Israel. That was the judgment according to scriptures. When Moses seen a man gathering sticks on the Sabbath and they put him in ward, the Most High commanded Moses to kill that man. He wasn't supposed to work on the Sabbath. That was the judgment for not respecting the Sabbath. So when you read Colossians, the 2nd chapter, when it says, let no man judge you, that's not saying don't let no man correct you. That's saying if I'm following the Sabbath, I can't kill someone who's not following it like I'm following it. Christ died on the cross. So I can't judge that person for them not following the Sabbath. This have nothing to do with Sunday. Because when it says, let no man judge you in respect of a holy day, Sunday was never a holy day. So it's not speaking of Sundays. It's not speaking of Christmas. Christmas was never a holy day. It's speaking of judging someone according to the law for breaking the laws in the Bible. So Paul said we're not allowed to execute punitive, what you would call judgments against Israelites who are not following the holy days the way the Pharisees and scribes were. We can't kill people now. We must give them grace and allow them to learn about the holy days, learn the importance of the Sabbath. That's what that means. This have nothing to do with allowing someone to eat pork and shrimp, crab, and lobster. When it says judge someone in respect of meat, it's not saying because you're eating shrimp that I can't come and say, well, according to the law, you're not supposed to be eating shellfish. When it says respect of meat, the holy days had also meat and drink offerings included in it, which were lawful meat, lawful drink. This has nothing to do with excusing a person for sinning on purpose. So the churches are not rightly dividing this word. They use this scripture and say, well, you can't judge me for celebrating Christmas. That's my holy day. When Paul wasn't even thinking about Christmas when he wrote this scripture. He was talking about the holy days written of in the Old Testament. Are you following me here?
Someone says, who would Japhet be today?
Japhet would be the modern day, most of the Chinese, Japanese, some of the Japanese people, but the poor Japanese, or a lot of them are from the lost tribes. The Asian people, predominantly. The Iranians, the Persians, they would be the Japhetic people. Okay? Last one. I didn't answer questions in a long time. That's the only reason I'm going to do this today. Get Revelations 3 and 10, and that's the last question for today, right? Mm-hmm. Read that.
Revelations 3 and 10. Because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I will also keep thee from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world to try them that dwell upon the earth.
We're in the hour of temptation. When it talks about the hour of temptation, it's really speaking of the last Jubilee. Speaking of the last Jubilee of time. That the Most High, where temptation will be at its height. The opportunity to sin will be readily available. So we're at a point where everyone is being tempted with their weakness. But if we do what's right, the Most High will put us in a scenario in the right mental framework to abstain from that temptation. All right? With that, we're going to pray out and wish you all Godspeed.